Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
And they start with a horrible snap all the way back to the 2-yard line, and the Browns bounce it into the end zone where they wind up with a touchdown. Of all crazy things, you don't go to the playoffs for 18 years, and that is the way it starts.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
I mean, when you think about that, it just kind of emphasizes the point of just how chaotic this past, 3, 4, 5 months have been for going in. And yeah, certainly there was a time where we didn't think we would have a season. We weren't sure if we were going to restart a season.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
This was an outstanding class. I think these guys have competed at a high level. They've been great ambassadors for the University of Alabama, and I think they've made a significant impact on our team this year, and hard to say where we'd be without them, but we're certainly happy to have them with us.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. This January the 11th, college football season ends tonight with Alabama and Ohio State playing for the national championship. Baylor men's basketball, another postponement. Good news for Freddie Gillespie, among many things, to get to the NFL playoffs into the second week. And the Bucks, Bills, and who was the other team that had a long drought, Paul? The Browns. How could I forget the Browns?
That's why I put them in the open.
They all three have broken double-digit year droughts, including the Browns, for 20-something years. So let's start with college football. Remember, we didn't know what was going to be like. And you have 12-0 Alabama against 7-0 Ohio State. We can go into the story. We know the story about the Big Ten, and we know the story about Ohio State, and we know the story about how they didn't want to play the conference, although Ryan Day did. So, hey, here we are. After all of the anxiety and the hand-wringing, we're going to have a championship game tonight. It's going to be played. The game and the season ends tonight.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought back in June that it wasn't going to happen. I really thought. I was like, there's no way. I didn't think it was going to happen.
Well, I mean, here we are, and I didn't really know, but, I mean, regardless of how I felt in June, I mean, here we are, and we got the season underway, so I'm excited about the game tonight. I think it should be a great game. I actually forgot that it was even tonight until, like, midway through the day, not counting, obviously seeing mentions of it on Twitter or whatnot, but just because it's been kind of out of whack, and then we had all the games yesterday that we were focused on. I woke up today, and I was like, oh, yeah, there's the national title game tonight, and I don't know. It's just kind of the same pomp and circumstances I feel it typically would be. But I think everybody's just so, out of whack in life right now. So it'll be fun to go home tonight and pop that on and have two of the best teams in college football playing and going at it for a title. So I'm excited about it.
Two teams with a bunch of blue chips, with a bunch of great players, a bunch of weapons. They're both at times giving up a lot of yards on defense. But if you look at some of the time, it could end up being a defensive game because they're both really loaded with talent. Baylor, and we'll hear from Nick Saban and Ryan Day. We'll also hear from two writers, one that covers Alabama and another one that covers Ohio State, both from down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for that game tonight in Miami. Baylor men's basketball. Golly, they are starting to get into a little bit of a groove, and their game tomorrow night against West Virginia, who lost a heartbreaking game Saturday to Texas, that game has been postponed. I saw a lot of chatter. Hey, Gonzaga doesn't play tomorrow night. They do play a conference game Thursday and Saturday. They just played Saturday. That game's never going to happen unless it's a tournament game. And if that happens, that means it's going to be most likely at a Final Four. And it's unfortunate that here we are again. They looked like they were starting to get into kind of a rhythm. They dominate TCU when they had to, and they have a heck of a week. You have West Virginia tomorrow, Texas Tech, and then you turn around, you got games with Kansas and eventually Texas. Man, and here we are. Let's stop it, put the brakes on, no game tomorrow night.
I guess the good news of that cancellation is it's West Virginia driven and not Baylor. So
no, that's great news.
Yeah,
You're right.
I mean,
yeah.
No.
So hate it for them, but no, it's good news.
I mean, if you're a Baylor fan, that's the good news, is that it's not going to be a stop for another. Because look, if it's Baylor news, that pretty much means a week from now the Kansas game's off and Tech is off, but it's not. So that's good news for the time being for Baylor, and we continue to knock wood. But it is unfortunate for West Virginia, and that's a team that just lost one of their better players in the transfer portal, and Oscar Shibaway, and they're just not having a good run right now.
No, it's unfortunate, but I mean, it's part of the deal. It's what we signed up for, and we had to do this 2-3 times in football. So at this point, I'm just kind of used to it. I mean, I'm sure to an extent the players and coaches aren't quite used to just this start-stop nature, or this, hey, get geared up, get mentally ready to play, only to get the letdown news of the fact that you're not going to play and have to come back down again. And then when do I have to get back up again? And then, all of that, it's hard to deal with, I would imagine. And it's unfortunate, but again, it's part of the deal. So as long as West Virginia can clear this, get back to it in, good enough time, then there shouldn't be too much disruption. But I will say that Gonzaga game, I mean, they pretty much let it be known now for everybody who wants to chime in with that. I want to see it too. I hope we see it in the national title game. But as far as the regular season goes, I mean, that's just a pipe dream at this point. I think they kind of poo-pooed on that about a week ago and stomped out any remaining embers that might, fire back up again. So it's wishful thinking. We're going to have to wait to the national title game, and hopefully that is where we see that happen.
So now they play at Texas Tech Saturday, 3 o'clock game. Then they'll, of course, they thought hosting West Virginia, but that now has been postponed. Kansas is on the 18th. That would follow the game at Texas Tech. That is, I believe, a home game. I believe that's a home game.
You're right, though, about thankfully it's West Virginia, because if it was Baylor, I would just be thinking, like, what do they have to do to try and avoid this, because they've already been hit so many times by COVID.
Freddie Gillespie, drafted by the G League by Memphis. He was the number 2 pick overall. And he was with the Mavericks, during their early part of training camp, released by the Mavericks. So former Baylor star Freddie Gillespie is now on the G League team in Memphis. Lady Bears will start their season back up on Saturday against Iowa State. Of course, they've had to juggle some of what they've had. So have other schools in Kansas, among others. They've had to juggle, but that game will be Saturday. We'll hear from Kim Mulkey and company later in the week. A couple of college football notes other than the game. Iowa State now had 9 players who earned first-team All-Big 12, and it looks like 8 of the 9 are coming back. They lost a defensive lineman who's pretty good. He's in the transfer portal. But Charlie Kohler, the big tight end, boy, they do really well with I love using the tight end in offense. He's coming back for another year. I saw this note on Pro Football Focus. The top 6 highest graded players in college football, led by Florida's tight end / hybrid, Kyle Pitts. Number 2, Brigham Young offensive tackle Brady Christensen. Number 5, Zach Wilson, quarterback at Brigham Young. Of course, Jeff Grimes, offensive coordinator, Eric Mateos, the offensive line coach. I just thought that was interesting. Otherwise, I normally would have noticed it, but not thought much about it. Now, speaking of Jeff Grimes, his high school offensive line coach, he did a long interview on YouTube over the weekend, and one of the things that I listened to more intently were how coaches affected him. Remember, we've had Ken Hatfield, R.C. Slocum, Phil Bennett, Bob Stoll, among others, right? Well, one of his first ever coach in high school, who was at Lakeview Centennial, who's now retired, and I was able to track him down through the Garland ISD. Cliff Oldenwald, the athletic director, said, hey, can you help me get set up with Jack Catlett? Found him. Called him last night. He's going to come on with us to talk about Jeff Grimes early on. He was his off because Jeff Grimes alluded to Frank Beamer as well. He's coming on, I think, this week as well. But that's going to be today at 3:30. So that's news there. Phil Bennett will be back with us again today at 5 o'clock. And we're working on him. A lot of you have said, hey, can you have him every Monday? I don't know how big his gas tank is for that, but we're working on him.
By the way, Frank Beamer, one of the saddest days of his life was one of the happiest days of mine.
I knew there would be a Florida State reference in here somewhere.
January 1st, 2000, baby.
Yeah. Cowboys, Dan Quinn, the favorite to become their new defensive coordinator. Paul, you like it?
I like that he's a 4-3 guy, and that's the personnel that they have. Hopefully he meshes well with Mike McCarthy, and hopefully they can be better than they were. I'm not going to get excited until I see them roll out next year.
Craig?
Because
he had a great defense in Seattle, so, we'll see. I don't, have too many thoughts one way or another on it. He obviously wasn't a good head coach. Cowboys have been through so many coordinators at this point that, put whatever shine you want on a guy about what he did previously or what his background is or whatever. It's bottom line is they got to get a guy to go and do it. So, I get more into the assistant coaching hires, I think, in college football than I do in the NFL. I think it's a bit more impactful there. It's impactful in the NFL, but we'll see. I think it's a good hire, though. There's not too many people with a resume like his defensively. So for everybody who wants to get caught up on, what he did in Atlanta as a head coach, that didn't really have any bearing on how he would, coach this Cowboys defense.
Well, yeah, what you do as a coordinator doesn't always carry over to what you do as a head coach. Look at some others that were under Jimmy Johnson. Some of them had more sticking. Wanstead ended up being a long-time coach. Butch Davis on and off. Obviously, Norv Turner, okay. But, a lot of them ended up being better as coordinators. That's interesting. Dan Quinn in Seattle had great talent there as well with the players he had. The Legion of Boom, is that what they called it, Paul?
And they don't have – the Cowboys right now – Smoaky, if you were just to compare them to the other defenses in the NFC East, just in the NFC East, the terrible, awful NFC East, I would say that maybe 3 guys you would take on every single team, and it's, so that means there's 8 guys that he's got to really get something out of.
What did you say? 3 guys on what?
Like if you were on the defense, if you were personnel building a defense, just take the rosters of every team in the NFC East on defense on the bad NFC East. Like the Giants, Washington football team, and Eagles would maybe only want 3 of the Cowboys players on defense.
I thought you were saying you'd only need 3 off each team.
No. Like you need.
No, you're right. In fact, Babe Loffenberg said that when they played the Giants in that, the last game, the Giants might replace 3 of their players with 3 of the Cowboys players.
Yeah, I mean,
and that was the Giants who finished. What were they, 6-10 or 5-11 as well?
And I'm just assuming that you're just taking a healthy 100% player.
Here's my question: is this I think Dan Quinn's obviously a pretty good defensive coach, and he had the Falcons on the verge of beating Tom Brady and the Patriots, and then we know what happened. They blew a 28-3 lead. He's blown leads before elsewhere, even this year. But is this a retread? Or is there somebody out there, a defensive mind, that is the next up-and-coming defensive coordinator?
Well, if the Cowboys wanted the next up-and-coming, of course, they have the next up-and-coming offensive coordinator, they think, in Kellen Moore, but I don't really think that that's Mike McCarthy's jam. I mean, his whole Jim Tomsula and Mike Nolan and everybody who's on the staff, Joe Philbin, the offensive line coach,
have been around, right?
Have been around.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what he wants, veteran coaches.
And he's a veteran coach. He's been in the league for 20-plus years or so. That's the only thing. Is there somebody out there that's the next young defensive? Well, we know Eric Bieniemy. Hopefully for him, he gets an opportunity wherever it is, in college or pro. He's earned that. He doesn't deserve it. He earns it.
The Eagles.
Now Philadelphia, Doug Peterson, he's gone, and that collapse or that decision about his quarterback against Washington was the death nail. Speaking of which, if Taylor Heinicke?
Taylor Heinicke.
Had he started for Washington from day one, Armstrong, they would have been minimum 14-2.
And yet you don't even know the guy's name. Yeah. He's that good.
Yeah.
The Browns took 26 years. The Bills, 25 years. The Buccaneers, Craig, 18 years since their last playoff wins. How cool was that over the weekend?
Yeah, it was cool to see the Browns in particular do what they did and have that style of a game against Pittsburgh, go up really big early on like that and just kind of pour it on. And by the end of the first quarter, that game was, for all intents and purposes, over. But obviously Pittsburgh made Cleveland earn it a little bit more than just that first quarter blowout. But no, I mean, it was awesome. It was awesome to see the Bills do their thing. And, I'm excited to see some new blood, even though it's old blood, back in the playoffs. So we had the Patriots for years and years and years and years and years, and the Steelers, even when it wasn't the Patriots. And so to see them not even involved or get knocked out pretty quickly, I like it. I think it's fun to see some new teams back there. So for Cleveland and Buffalo in particular, knowing what their franchises have been through, I think it's great, and we'll see what they do next weekend.
This is from Gary Myers. He was a writer up in New York. He was with the Dallas Morning News, covered the NFL forever. The NFC East used to have Parcells, Gibbs, Landry, and Buddy Ryan. And Ryan doesn't even deserve to be on that list. Now they have Ron Rivera, Joe Judge, Mike McCarthy, and an opener in Philadelphia. Well, if you include Jimmy Johnson, because Gibbs and Johnson coached against each other. Buddy Ryan, Gibbs, and Johnson coached together, and so did Parcells.
I mean, you just kind of mentioned it, but, I mean, that Doug Peterson is pretty big. I mean, the Eagles fired freaking Doug Peterson. He was in the Super Bowl like 2 years ago.
Yep.
And they had Carson Wentz, and, like, we just sort of gloss over that, but that's really large news. And now maybe Eric Bieniemy goes to Philadelphia, or maybe they go in an entirely different direction. But, I mean, you're going from having Peterson and Wentz and, being in the Super Bowl and, doing that whole thing with Nick Foles and winning and everything else. And 3-4 years later, you're away from both of them. I mean, you're moving away from both of them. That's shocking that it turned that quickly for Philadelphia, who thought that they had, the 2 biggest pieces in place for a while.
It's what Washington thought they had. Mm-hmm. When RG3 exploded on the scene as a rookie, former Baylor Heisman Trophy winner. Remember with Jerry Jones? My God, we got to deal with him for a decade. The next year, he never finished it. And now the Eagles have blown that opportunity. And I'm not so sure you can't put the Cowboys in there overall because, Paul, they had a Hall of Fame offensive line lined up and young and under contract. and got fortunate with a quarterback where they had a salary cap that didn't get blown up because of a $30 million a year quarterback. And they had Zeke Elliott, and they've blown their opportunity.
Yeah, it appears they have. I mean, and they never like they're running the risk of back-to-back quarterbacks that a lot of teams would, run through a plate glass window to get in Tony Romo at their prime, Tony Romo and Dak Prescott, because of the struggles they've had and not winning anything.
Yeah.
You can take the gap between.
And if the team that did win something did it with Nick Foles.
Yeah. Yeah, you take the gap between Nick Foles, who also, I'll remember this until the day I die. I sent you the text because I was in Minneapolis when Nick Foles won the Super Bowl. I said, Smokey, Nick Foles just won the Super Bowl, and 6 months ago, or maybe it was a year before, but remember when everybody asked Jerry Jones about Nick Foles and he laughed off the possibility of the Cowboys even bringing him in? And he just won the Super Bowl? It's just,
By the way, speaking of Tony Romo, he's in a list of the College Football Hall of Fame. He was for what he did at Eastern Illinois. Kenneth Sims, former great #1 pick overall by the Patriots out of Texas, is on that list as well. Bob Stoops, Oklahoma quarterback, is on that as well.
Oklahoma quarterback Bob Stoops.
Head coach Bob Stoops. So those are three of the names among many others in the College Football Hall of Fame. Tonight they play for the national championship. We'll hear from the coach at Lakeview Centennial, former offensive line coach of those Jeff Grimes back when he was a pup. We'll do that in a minute. Okay, we have a couple of comments from Saban and Ryan Day. Paul?
We do. I'm trying to pull up. I had it here on my computer, and it's locking up on me. But
sorry, did y'all, before you go to this, did y'all see T.J. Pledger? Did y'all mention that?
No. T.J. Pledger committed to Utah.
Yeah.
That's why Charlie Brewer, and I kind of alluded to Utah last week. Charlie Brewer retweeted T.J. Pledger last week when he said he's leaving Oklahoma in the transfer portal, and here he is. He's going to Utah. So they get. Huh?
Go ahead.
So he's going to be there with Charlie Brewer and whoever else goes to Utah.
Utah's really planned this ahead of time really well based on how we've seen this unfold, because that Charlie Brewer decision wasn't made in like a week, and he's already retweeting TJ Pledger a week ago before he makes his announcement. So it seems like Utah had a lot of off-season plans in place.
It seems like there might have been even the possibility there was contact before there should have been contact, but I don't know if you can. I don't know how you can do anything about that.
Good for them, good pickup.
Yeah.
It's just like if you look at the way the dots connected, the Charlie Brewer Utah thing had been brewing for a while, it appears, and that makes you scratch your head just a little bit. But, the fact that Charlie tweeted that a week ago and then a week later, here's TJ Pledger committing. They've been doing some work behind the scenes, and that'll be a team that's definitely of interest in the Pac-12 next season.
All right.
Yeah, I was going to go ahead with these.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so let's do
one of each. Let's do one of each.
Yeah, so let's start with Ryan Day on, look, the college football, we mentioned it, they opened the show. The college football playoff, the championship is being played, and no team probably feels that more than Ohio State, because they thought for a while they weren't going to have a season, and Ryan Day says, look, you need to have a season.
I mean, when you think about that, it just kind of emphasizes the point of just how chaotic this past 3, 4, 5 months have been. Some days you woke up, you didn't know which direction you were going in, and yeah, certainly there was a time where we didn't think we would have a season, weren't sure if we were going to restart a season. I think just again, which goes to show you how strong our guys have been, and every program's gone through some different version of it. But yeah, I mean, at some point we're going to sit back and go through all this stuff. Now's not the time. All the focus is on playing on this game, but it certainly has been a strange road to get here.
I like him. I do. I like him. I really do. I like Ryan Day. Obviously, I'm a big fan of what Nick Saban's done, but I like Ryan Day. I really do. He's a hell of a football coach. There's some good young coaches in college football today.
You know what I actually admire about him when Scott Frost put everything out on the line and did that, Ryan Day didn't let him just languish alone.
He backed him.
He backed him. Now, Ryan Day didn't get as much crap as Scott Frost did because, he's at the cathedral of the Big Ten, but he backed him, and he said absolutely. So a lot of times, and this partly it's just a recruiting thing, when you have slimy coaches or people around, they'll be like, yeah, Scott Frost said that, what an idiot, when he's thinking the same thing. Yeah. But yeah, he stood up and backed the fraternity of coaches.
Harbaugh didn't do it. The guy at Northwestern, who's a great dude, he didn't do it. Mm-hmm. Penn State, James Franklin didn't do it, but Ryan Day did it. And, of course, if you have a team like Ryan Day has, you want to play the games if you possibly can. All right, what else?
All right, so most relevant to us in this in the Big 12 country in the college football playoff is the fact that, a big chunk of Nick Saban's coaching staff is moving to Austin, including, of course, new Longhorns head coach Steve Sarkisian. And here is Nick Saban commenting on how that'll affect the game tonight.
Well, I think our coaching staff has done a really good job working with our players. Sark is the one guy that has shown great maturity, I think, and how he's handled his situation, moving on to be a head coach, which is what he's worked for, and we're happy for him relative to the opportunity that he's created for himself by the great job that he's done for us here. But I have no complaints at all with the way our coaches have, sort of handled the situation, and I think everybody is, wants to do the best job that they can for the players so that the players, have the best opportunity to have success in a game against a very good team.
They haven't won every national title. They have lost. They have been beaten. Clemson hammered them. Others have beaten them. Ohio State back in 2014 during that controversial who was going to get in. Remember, Ohio State, I think, beat Alabama, did they not, in the in the semifinal? But one thing about Nick Saban, no coach anywhere in America, even Clemson or Ohio State, has had more coaches rated off of his staff than he's had. And he just doesn't blink. And you keep thinking he's going to run out of gas. He's going to find somebody to replace Sarkisian. And it'll be a really good, either a young and up-and-coming guy or somebody on the rebound. That's what he does. But he has had coach after coach after coach rated off his staff.
Bill O'Brien's going to replace Steve Sarkisian quite possibly. I mean, that's the kind of connections that he has. Oh, I lost this guy to go coach Texas. Oh, I'll just go grab the former NFL head coach to come in. I mean, he's got connections galore. And, no, he's the greatest college football coach of all time. And I don't think there's really much of a debate about that. I mean, if you want to throw Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes and Tom Osborne and Barry Switzer and all these other greats out there. Bear Bryant, of course.
Bobby Bowden, got to throw in there.
Bear Bryant's at the very top, but Saban's passed him. I mean, he has. He's totally passed him. So he is the greatest college football coach of all time, and you get another opportunity to watch him tonight. I know not everybody loves it, but, at this point, I just have to respect it. And, it'd be one thing if his team was running around like the 80s U and just throwing it in your face constantly, but they're not, they're not. They just go out there, they play football at a really high level. Yes, they're, draped in 5 stars, unlike, most other teams. But, hey, tonight, so is the team that they're playing, so it should be a hell of a game.
I'm not saying – I don't think – this is not a given Alabama wins. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. Ohio State's capable of making you look stupid if you turn it over a couple of times at the wrong time, because we saw that. We just saw what they did. But I do think Nick Saban, he separated himself. He won at LSU. He had a pretty good run at Michigan State. And he has all the talent in the world, but so does Texas. Look at the differences since they played for that national title in 2009 when Colt McCoy was injured, when Saban won a title. In 10 years, 11 years, he's still at that same level, even higher. And UT's now on their 4th head coach since that time.
Yeah, and late in the show when we do the top 5, it's top 5 things. And one of the things I mentioned is, like about Ohio State, like they can hang with them, but they had to have a little COVID pause, or they've had some COVID things. So how does their practice time affect them compared to Alabama,
But also, how does the fact they've played 5 less games, and I'm not complaining about Ohio State, does that help them?
Yeah, we're here now. I mean, you're complaining about, if Ohio State wins.
I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying, do they have less wear and tear? I know that they're going to get Waddle back, or what it may be a little bit, but how much are they more fresh despite the COVID?
No,
stuff?
I know you're not. I'm saying like that if they do win tonight, and the first thing is like, well, they played 5 less games. We're here. It's over.
They just beat Clemson and Alabama.
Yeah, let's talk about the now and how they did it, and I think that they can, and if especially if they get their running game going and can kind of control it a little bit, they've proven to be pretty dangerous.
All right. Armstrong, Sims, and Jack run the mothership. Armstrong, you don't think Washington goes 14-2 with Taylor Heineken?
I think there's a real possibility. I think you're onto something.
They lose a game at the end, Paul, because they don't need to win it, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they would have won the division by 7 games.
Man.
So.
Hey, we're going to have Dick Vitale coming up on Friday, a couple of other guests as well along the way. We hope to every day at 3 o'clock entertain you and give you what you want. But one of the first guests we have off the top today, Jack Catler. I'd never heard of him. Craig, you remember when Robert E. Lee, when we did the games, now Legacy High School, played Lakeview Centennial back in the year I think they won the state title?
I do not. No, I think
it was either. That. I think they played. Yeah, they was one of those years. It might have been one of the years they went to the semifinals, but back in the early 2000s. Well, Lakeview Centennial's out of the Garland School District. Jack Catler's on the staff as an offensive line coach. Jeff Grimes discusses him as one of the 2 coaches that had a very big impact on him. And he mentioned the others, but 2 in particular, and one of them was Jack Catler, his high school coach at Lakeview Centennial. Why? We'll talk to Coach Catler, former head coach or assistant coach, Coach Catler, about Jeff Grimes and much more. This is SicEm365 Radio.
2021 is finally here, and mark it great by starting big at the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr. You get big haul power, first-class comfort and ride, and unbeatable technology with the Sierra, the best truck on the road. And right now, save $8,500 on a 2021 GMC Sierra SLE crew cab truck. Maybe instead of a truck, you're looking for a top-of-the-line mid-size SUV. Well, Richard Carr is offering $6,250 off of 2021 GMC Terrains. They're also offering $4,500 off the stylish, intelligent, and nimble 2021 Buick Encore G6, which includes on-the-go Alexa technology. And during the New Year New Ride Savings Event, all pre-owned cars and trucks are priced and moved with amazing deals all over the lot, including cars and SUVs for under $137 a month for qualified buyers. And if your credit stinks like 2020, well, it's a new year, and in 2021, 100% credit approval is the goal for Richard Carr. Bring your tax refund or your stimulus check to Richard Carr, and they will stimulate your stimulus with even bigger savings that will pay off of years. Go to Richard Carr Motors today for details and a test drive, or log on to richardcarr.com and have them bring the test drive to you. Make 2021 the best year ever, starting with a new car or truck during New Year's New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
It's a new year. Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Hi, this is David Smoak, including what you'll need to watch the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl. Ribs, sauces, links, brisket, chicken wings, bags of various snacks, and customized appetizer trays. Don't forget to order something now for the perfect home-cooked Valentine's Day dinner, which is closer than you think, including combo packs with ribeyes, fillets, and lobster tails. Live crawfish season is just around the corner. Absolutely the right time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Waco Custom Marketplace, your family meat market, butcher shop and bakery with everything baked fresh with old-fashioned farmers market atmosphere. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental. Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
If you have an opinion, a suggestion, a question, a comment, 254-339-1122 is the number we use every day right here on SicEm365 Radio, including if you have a question for a guest that we have on or something, a suggestion for a guest or Paul's top 5 suggestions. You could always contact us at 254-339-1122. Jack Catlett's a former offensive line coach at Centennial High School in the Garland School District. If you heard or listened to any of the Jeff Grimes interview on YouTube over the weekend, it was about 25 minutes long, and part of that he mentioned 2 coaches who stood out to him along with others, but 2 in particular and something from early, and one of them was Frank Beamer at Virginia Tech. The other he mentioned was Jack Catlett. In fact, he mentioned Coach Catlett first. He joins us on SicEm365 Radio. He was the offensive line coach at Centennial. And Coach Catlett, I know you're retired, and you and I had a nice conversation last night, but what's the first thing you recall when you saw a young Jeff Grimes coming through the system at Centennial High School?
Well, the first thing I recall is he's 6'5", and you can't coach 6'5". You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to coach a lot of kids that were 5'5" to be 6'5", and it wasn't possible. So he had nice size. He had nice size.
Coach, can you tell players that have the coaching gene in them, like Coach Grimes has when they're young?
I did not know that. When he was in school, I didn't realize that he would be a coach. Not till later did I realize that he had the coaching gene. When he was a GA for R.C. Slocum, is when I really realized that he had something special as a coach.
So what was he like as a player, just watching him from that young age and then watching him grow? Just what were sort of some of the developments that you took note of? What are some of the, personality traits or things about him that, were impressed upon you with that time around him?
Well, as you know, the child is the father of the man. And I can remember one specific thing that sort of typifies Jeff. We were playing Rockwall High School, and I don't know if you know anything about James Cameron's teams there, but they had a special kind of arrogance on the front of their program. They had a diagram to wing tee, buck sweep, because they were going to run it. And it was up to you to try and stop it. But there was no bones about it. That was their trademark. They were going to run it. Well, likewise, on defense, they had a 5-2 defense, and they were going to stunt. And it was up to you to stop it. Again, no bones about it. They figured they were good enough. They could tell you in advance what they were going to do. So, to make a long story short, for pass protection, Jeff was a guard at the time, and for pass protection, I had him double keying on pass pro. In other words, he had to first see if the linebacker was coming on a stunt. If he wasn't, he had to move quickly back and out to the outside to pick up the defensive end. Well, it's hard to do. It's hard to do, very hard, especially if you're not 6'5" and having coordination trouble, which, I mean, Jeff was at the time. As you know, big guys are slow, late developers. And Jeff was having considerable amount of trouble doing it. And odds are that Rockwell was going to beat us anyway. But he wouldn't let that stand. He practiced and practiced and practiced that hard footwork to make that particular block. And I think that's going to hold him in good stead. You know, when you're in a conference with Oklahoma and the 11 Dwarfs, as they like to call it up in Norman, you're going against folks that are arrogant, and you can't just let that stand. You can't let them browbeat you. You can't let them bluff you. You just have to work hard and overcome it. And I think that typifies Jeff.
Could you tell pretty early he had to work on his coordination, which you're right, you have to grow into your height and your body. Even sometimes your shoe size can be a little bit out of whack, your foot size. Did you notice he was cerebral early on? Because we hear about how he is a football coach, but he's a very brilliant young man. Of course, now he's in his early 50s, but could you kind of tell he picked things up, and something you recall about that as well, including what you just mentioned?
Yes. I assume you know what gravitas is. Mm-hmm. The difference between charisma and gravitas. Jeff has gravitas. He's not flashy, not going to be the hit of each party. When he walks in a room, I don't imagine that everything lights up. He's just solid, steady, hardworking, grind it out, that kind of guy. And he knew that hello? Okay. I just had something go off. He knew that he was behind the curve as far as, he was 6'5", but he didn't get his coordination until later. And that was an emotional strain, when you're a young man, but it was an intellectual problem because he couldn't make that happen faster. Because, all of his pivot points were changed as his bones grew longer, and it took a while for him to get to accomplish that. But he worked hard on it, and by the time he graduated from high school, Andy Reid, who's a pretty fair judge of football players, figured out I need to give this kid a scholarship. So, he recognized what he had coming out to UTEP.
Jack Catlett, former Lakeview Centennial offensive line coach, with us on SicEm365 Radio. That's where Jeff Grimes played his high school football.
Yeah, Coach, that's might be that's very subtle how you put that. Andy Reid is a pretty fair judge of talent, but what does those things that all make a coach? when they're a young player, the intellectual and then having to deal with the physical. How much does that help, maybe even just in your personal experience, that you had to go through something that you can now tell someone, like, look, it's not as hard as you're making it. You just have to just take a step back and look at the whole picture.
Sure, and that's amazingly tough for a young person to look far in the future. It's very, very tough for them. Again, as you know, they want it to happen right now, especially in today's culture, but it's always been that way. And Jeff knew that he had to go through a rough period, learning a certain set of skills before he could become accomplished at it. And when you're going through that learning stage, it's like learning to ride a bicycle for the first time. You're going to fall. You're going to fall until you feel confident and acquire the skills. And it was the same thing with him. And it's the same thing with any young man, with anyone doing any complicated procedure. I wouldn't like to be the person that had brain surgery from a rookie,
Yeah, no, you're right. Somebody had to be the first one. Coach, one of the things that Jeff mentioned over the weekend was that what stood out to him, especially with you, was that he said you stayed after practice and spent a lot of extra time with him. And that kind of is something, even to this day, many years later, he still remembers. So did you realize at the time, I know you were trying to just make him a better offensive lineman and deal with some of the things he was dealing with, his growth spurt and all that, but did you realize at the time sometimes that you're making that kind of an impact on someone who's now climbing the ladder in big-time college football?
I don't actually recall thinking that going through my head. But I do recall that Bobby Ewell, who was the head coach at Lakeview Centennial at that time, he told me one time that every kid in a program has to have one coach at least that has faith in him, that has confidence in him, that believes in it. And that was the case with Jeff. Early on, we didn't know if he was going to become a player, but I thought he could. And I was that one coach, I guess, for Jeff. And I guess that formed a bond between us.
How proud are you of him?
I'm very proud of him. He's a fine young man, and I can call him a young man because I'm very old. He's a fine young man. I couldn't ask for any better young man to come through me.
That's awesome. Hey, Coach, thank you. It was great to get to know you last night. Appreciate you so much for your time, and obviously what you did obviously made a difference with Jeff as a player at UTEP and eventually a coach throughout his career. Thanks for your time so much, and good luck.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you calling me.
Jack Catlett, former Lakeview Centennial offensive line coach. I think Coach might have been a pretty good basketball coach there as well. Joins us, and thanks for his time on SicEm365 Radio. He didn't know at the time. I don't think you don't know what how you're influencing somebody. You're just doing what you love to do. And here we are, a couple of decades later. Look where he is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a pretty good feeling for Coach to see one of his young men, especially somebody he took an interest in, continue to rise in life and get to this point in his career. I think it was very clear from Grimes' tweet and just his statement that he made through Baylor last week that he was fired up to be back in Texas and glad to be back in Texas. And he certainly seemed fired up in the parts of the interview that I saw. But yeah, I look forward to hearing more from him. I look forward to hearing more from all of these guys. I mean, I don't even hardly know what Chancey Stuckey's voice sounds like.
Yeah.
I don't know much about him because he's not somebody with a Texas background or somebody who has, come across really Baylor in some way, form, or fashion, whereas Jeff Grimes has that Texas background and has worked with some of these coaches. But, yeah, I mean, it's good to just get all these perspectives on these guys. I mean, we got fired up about the staff last year, but didn't really have an opportunity to – I mean, at this point last year, everything was normal still. And, everything was kind of in the midst.
Did they even have a coach yet? When was Aranda introduced?
I don't think Aranda was hired yet, was he? I don't even remember.
Well, because LSU was playing in the national championship game, so it would have been next week, I guess.
Yeah. So this time last year, and so then by the time that there was a staff announced, we kind of slowly but surely learned about that. But by the time the big shoes had dropped, like who's the offensive coordinator, we were headwind into a pandemic. I mean, and that was just basically before it even got started, or as it got started, it got shut down. So this is kind of nice to, know like, hey, there is going to be spring ball. Like, there's going to be some type of spring ball this year. And I don't know if we'll get to cover it the way we normally got to go out there and actually maybe watch a practice or two. But I do like that we're getting an opportunity to learn a little bit about these guys. And I hope that we get to learn a lot more about them here over the next few weeks, because I think people are excited that they're here. They're excited about what the change could bring, and just excited to get to know these guys and root for them. So any bit of perspective we can get is great, but I thought he did really well, Grimes that is, in that interview.
When we come back, Paul Catalina spoke with somebody that covers Alabama.
Yeah, January 16th, Aranda was announced as head coach.
Yeah, so it was a little less than a week from now, and then, of course, we had that one round table, cattle drive, and we in the room up in the Simpson Hires building, right? And when we were able to meet the coaches and everybody had a chance to visit with everybody. I remember that. But after that, it was maybe once or twice, and that was it. Thanks to Taylor Bryan. But after that, it was shut down. So hopefully we'll be able to have a chance pretty soon to get to know these guys again.
First and last time we talked to Larry Fedora, he made that comment about not watching film. But that was the last time we talked to him.
And in fact, Jeff Grimes, one of the things he said in the interview was he absolutely looked at film of who was going to be in the quarterback room. He said it would be like a college, or he'd be like a basketball coach taking over a team without knowing if he had a starting point guard.
Yeah. I don't know what happened with that, quite frankly. I don't know, if maybe Larry Fedora said something and meant it another way or whatever. It doesn't matter now, though. But I did find it funny that was one of the comments that Jeff Grimes made was like, yeah, I've absolutely watched the film from last year.
All right, when we come back, Alabama and Ohio State tonight. We've heard from Saban. We've heard from Ryan Day. Now we're going to hear in the next hour from a couple of guys who cover Ohio State. Tim May will join us in an hour. Also coming up, a writer who covers Alabama. Also at 4 o'clock today, how about the high school football championship? We're down to 4. We're going to finish the college football, and we're going to finish the high school football season. The UIL did a remarkable job in handling how they ended up putting the season together, delaying 5A and 6A. They're going to finish it up this weekend. And Todd Dodge will join us today at 4. He's going to want against his son, his former team. And what a great story he has about his grandson, talking about South Lake Carroll against his granddad at Austin Westlake. This is SicEm365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace was put together, created for Waco and Central Texas for you to enjoy their incredible product from a butcher shop and a bakery like the old-fashioned way. They also have groceries up and down, whatever you need, like a convenience store setup, but even better when it comes to box. For example, let's say you need lasagna. You need some pasta for spaghetti or lasagna. Let's say you need something that's a box dinner because you're just going to do something like a hamburger helper. They have all that. You need tomato paste or tomato sauce. You need seasonings and sausage. You need soft drinks, milk, eggs, energy drinks. What else you got there? Got potato chips? Yeah, they got that too. But what they absolutely excel with was what they do inside the butcher shop and the bakery. If you like your steaks custom cut, they can do that for your bone-in ribeyes or for your ribeyes or your bacon wrap fillets as well. Order what you want with their seafood, whether it's Norwegian salmon or maybe even lobster tails, and of course poultry and pork, what you want there as well. And the bakery is constantly every morning, and fresh baked bread and desserts as well. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Don't settle for second best. Allen Samuels has the Dodge models to make your heart go pitter-patter. Allen Samuels is Waco's Customer First Award for Excellence winner for 3 years running. Come take a peek at the new 2020 Dodge Charger SXT with $5,670 in value or 0% for 72 months. Or the new 2020 Dodge Journey, one of the most affordable third-row SUVs with $6,750 total values available. Shop today at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com. It's the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Your friend in the car business. See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas, familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Tony Sakalis with us here on SicEm365 Radio, Bama Insider, Rivals.com. Tony, is this kind of commonplace for you now? Like, do you get excited about covering national championship games? You get to do it all the time.
Jesus, I think it's my fourth one on the beat. I have a losing record, so it's kind of I don't know if Alabama fans are going to like to hear that. I did cover one in college, so I'm actually got a 2-2 record, really. But it's my fifth national championship with Alabama, and it is kind of becoming old hat for me a little bit.
Yeah, this team is clearly very special, as many of the teams are. But I heard Nick Saban in the press conference talking about that class of 2017 and some of those key guys that stayed. Is that the reason not only that they're here, but they are so unbelievably dominant that they have senior players in a pandemic year who stayed through this and that are, all going to be first-round draft picks?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at three of the team captains that were seniors that decided to stay. Alex Leatherwood. You've got Devontae Smith. Najee Harris wasn't a team captain. I keep on putting him as a team captain because he has such an influential role in this team, but he's another one. That's the other one I was going to say. Look, those people, they could have all three of those guys could have went to the pros. They probably all would have been fringe first or second round guys. And they elected to come back. I think with all the distractions of a COVID year, like you said, that's a huge deal for Alabama to have those guys, not only perform on the field, but perform from a leadership role. And I think that really helped steady the ship moving forward.
Yeah, they have not really shown, other than a couple of quarters here and there, much weakness. Do you expect that to maybe change because Ohio State will be maybe even by far the best team they've played this year? And that includes Texas A&M, who only lost to Alabama.
Yeah, I kind of see this game playing out, somewhat similarly to the SEC championship game where both teams are going to score points. I don't think this Alabama defense is going to shut down Ohio State. Look, we saw what it did against Clemson, and I think that, this Alabama defense is pretty exposable when you look at some of the things that Ohio State can do. It's just when it comes down to stopping Alabama's offense, I'm not sure any team can do it. And I don't think Ohio State will be able to do that. You just can't slow down this team because, if you try to play it slow, Alabama can win those grind out games. If you try to do a track meet, I think that's probably exactly what Alabama wants. You can't shut down the passing game because you got Najee Harris and a Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, and then you can't focus on the running game because you've got the Heisman winner and Mac Jones at quarterback. So it seems impossible. It almost seems like a NFL offense. I know like it's kind of stereotypical to say, but I've never seen an offense this good. Maybe LSU last year, but it's really close.
What does it say about Nick Saban that here was a guy who was very stubborn in getting to it, but once he did get to this offense, it's now it's even changed a program that he'd already changed for the infinitely better.
I think when you look at most good coaches or great coaches, actually, it's their ability to adapt to the times that really sets them apart. And I think this is the biggest thing that Nick Saban had to adapt to. He hated spread offenses. He hated hurry up offenses. This was the type of offense that used to kind of tick Nick Saban off when he was, when he first started at Alabama. It's the offenses kind of like Ole Miss had that gave him some trouble. And I think eventually he just decided that, I think a big part of it is he lost twice to Ole Miss back-to-back years. And I think that kind of opened up his eyes to, well, hey, I need to find someone that can make this offense for my team so I can start using it. And Lane Kiffin was really the guy, I think, that brought that to Alabama. And since that, they've really been able to kind of continue on that. And now you're seeing, Heisman winners come from Alabama. You're seeing, Heisman candidate quarterbacks, which is something that we never saw from Alabama. Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones, you had Jalen Hurts. Alabama's starting to slowly develop quarterbacks, and they're not just game managers. And I think that's, a credit to the evolution of this offense.
All right, Tony, last thing before I let you go, I know you've got a busy day, and thanks for hopping on with us. Prediction for tonight. How do you see this game really playing out in the final score?
So I'm going to go, this is the final score I've been giving, so I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to say 41-30 Alabama. I do think that there'll be times when, I think Ohio State's going to always be in striking distance. I think it's a good team. And I think when you say 11 points, that sounds like a lot, but with these kind of back and forth kind of shootout games, 11 points can, it can be actually closer than it looks. I think that might be the case. I think Alabama's going to kind of control the game. But I don't ever think they're going to be able to pull away from Ohio State. I think there's just too many weapons on the Ohio State offense. But like I said, when you look at Alabama's offense, it's legendary, and I think it's going to continue to do that tonight.
Tony Tsoukalas, Rivals.com, Bama Insider with us here on SicEm365 Radio.
All right, that was Paul Catalina, Alabama. Later on, Tim May, who writes for the Letterman Row. He was with the Columbus Dispatch in Columbus, Ohio, covering Ohio State. He'll join us at 4:45. Coming up next, Westlake High School head coach Todd Dodge, former Texas quarterback, head coach at North Texas, head coach at Southlake Carroll, faces his son, Riley Dodge, in a game that was supposed to be the opening game of the season. That was, of course, canceled because of COVID. So Todd Dodge next on SicEm365 Radio. Premium quality MRIs, convenient and affordable. That is Ideal at idealmri.com. Let's say you have something that is more than just a bump, bruise, something that's kind of maybe a little sore. It just keeps you from almost functioning because it might be deep into your shoulder, or maybe a muscle or a bone, or something might be a ligament that's broken, torn, or shredded. Ideal MRI can help you out right smack in the middle of the Central Texas marketplace, just off of 340 and, of course, Waco off of I-35. Rob Maxey, Dr. Maxey, he's the doctor there, along with others, specialists in techs, who can make it convenient for you to get an appointment to check on something that hurts more than just kind of, it's okay. It keeps you up at night. You can't function. If your doctor says they need an MRI on whatever it is, tell them about Ideal MRI. Ask them about it, because also, on average, an MRI can cost $1,100 with Ideal MRI, $497 or less every single time. You can go online to check them out, get in touch with them as well, idealmri.com, or in the Central Texas marketplace, idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army radiologists. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting, and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricUSA.com.
It's time to be brutally honest with yourself. Look in the mirror or weigh yourself. Do you weigh as much, more, or less than you did before the holidays or a year ago? Why not start the year in better shape than how you ended it and create momentum for 2021 and help strip the negative vibes from the crazy of 2020? It's time right now to join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. It's so much more than a gym, including world-class tennis courts, lessons available with pros, fitness merchandise, tanning, massage, personal training to get you over the hump. I promise you'll look better and feel better than ever before. Just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Court. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp, spacious, clean workout room, free weights, Cybex cardio equipment, and no intimidation, a tremendous camaraderie and family atmosphere. So make this your best and healthiest year ever. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Westlake head football coach Todd Dodge with us on SicEm365 Radio. Well, how ironic. First two tradition-rich names, so it's not a surprise that Westlake and Carroll would meet in a championship game, although there's some other great names in the 6A. But how ironic is it you didn't get to play that opening game, but now you get to play and meet for a championship, and it's Riley against his father and father against son?
Yeah, it really is ironic. And to be honest with you, that game was about a year in the making, and it was approached. Riley and I were approached, I think, during coaching school a year in advance, and we both very hesitantly agreed to that. Neither one of us were extremely fired up. It was going to be really good for the kids and good for the fans and all that, but we weren't really that fired up about playing against each other in that opening game. So, but we all since that we've talked about, the way that we would want it to happen would be for us to make it to a state championship game and play against each other. So we're just so excited to have this opportunity.
Did you get a chance to talk to him much yesterday and how difficult it was for him to not be at the game?
Yeah, I talked to him quite a bit yesterday morning. I talked to him within 2 hours of my kickoff. He actually went over to his offensive line coach's house just by himself, and that's where he watched the game, and he was in contact with his team.
That was amazing. Obviously, what they did in the second half to a great team in Duncanville, what you guys were able to do against North Shore, because those two have played. Does it make it even more special because you beat the two-time state champions to get to where you are?
I tell you what, both of us have earned our way here, and yes, our kids to say there would be the Dodge Bowl, whatever everyone wants to call it, would happen is, that was kind of iffy about the start of the playoffs, because we both knew that ultimately if we were going to meet, the only way we could meet would be in a state championship game, and both of us would have to have some monumental upsets, and we were both able to pull it off yesterday.
But I say that they're the two-time champion. You're defending champion as well. What has changed in the time you've been there that now you've been able to break through? You've been in the championship game before, but now it seems like you've even gone to another level, and it seems like your defense is really good. Yeah, we're really good on defense, all three levels. We came into the season with two returning starters in secondary, one returning starter at linebacker, and two returning starters at defensive line. And those five kids played extremely well early, and they played extremely well throughout the course of the season, and they allowed on defense to come up. And now we've got some, from a production standpoint, we were coming into the game, we were giving up 4 points a game, and to be able to hold an explosive team like North Shore to 21 points is just amazing. Tony Salazar is my defensive coordinator. I hired Tony when I was my second year at Marble Falls, and really, Smoak, the reason I hired him is because I couldn't. He was the defensive coordinator at Leander, and I couldn't move the ball on him. And so I decided I was going to find out who that guy was, and I hired him. He's been with me ever since, and he's amazing. I was looking at your schedule even from last year when you won it all shutout Geyer for the state title. Todd, you guys last year didn't give up a lot. And I think there was the one game with Del Valle where it's 69-31, a couple of touchdowns against, in fact, Brandeis and then and East. And I think that's where your defensive coordinator came from. And South Lake Carroll's got a guy that was on that staff. So this is not just this year. You have been squeezing people. Obviously he's made a difference. And it used to be where Westlake was known for the high-flying offense. Right. And, as we've gone through, not just this year, and you bring up a great point. I look back to even 2018 when we
we played there at Katy Legacy Stadium, were defeated by Westbrook. Our team in that year had 6 shutouts during that season, also had 3 during the playoffs. So we've been really good defense for a while now.
So there's all these tie-ins. Obviously, you trying to repeat Riley against Todd, father, son, Carroll, Westlake, and the two of you, the 2 schools combined, have been in like 20 state championships. You know that history because you were at South Lake Carroll. Is that right? Does that tie into it as well?
Well, it does. It's got a lot. It's got a lot of intertwined stuff. With the last time that Westlake and South Lake Carroll met in the state championship game, I was the head coach at South Lake Carroll, and the guy who is the head coach at South Lake Carroll now was the starting quarterback. For South Lake Carroll. We were able to defeat. My father-in-law was the athletic director at Westlake at the time. My wife is grew up in Westlake. My son Riley, who is now going to be the head coach at South Lake Carroll, playing Westlake, was the ball boy on the 1996 Westlake State Championship game, the first one that they won with Drew Brees as quarterback. So, I mean, it goes on and on. Lee Munn, the defensive coordinator at South Lake Carroll, was on my staff for 7 years. He's the protege of Tony Salazar, my defense coordinator. So it goes on and on.
It's crazy. It's crazy, and especially does it make it? I keep saying that. Does it make it more special or unique because of what we've faced with COVID, and the season almost never got started? Then it was delayed, and there were some things that, of course, got postponed and canceled. Does it? When you look up, is it almost like, my God, we're going to make it to the final week?
Yeah, it absolutely makes it special, and it hit me yesterday. To be honest with you, we believe in our kids. We believe in that great things are going to happen. What we can control is what Westlake can control. But I mean, with 4 minutes left yesterday, they scored and went up 21-17, and it was literally 4 minutes left to go. That's the first time we trailed all year long. The only time we trailed this entire season. I'm going to find out a lot about my football team right now. What is their reaction going to be? And we kicked off they kicked off to us. We got the ball. We went down and took it down and scored with about 1:15 left. And we punched our ticket. And then I was just the rest, as soon as I could get to a phone to find out how Riley was doing out against Duncanville. But you talk about, Riley and I, we really have talked about this personally, as this season is going on, and going, you know what, if we do play each other, this is where we want to play each other for a state championship, because we both earned our way there.
Have you thought about what the emotions will be on either side, no matter what happens Saturday night?
Yeah, I know my son. I know myself. I know one thing is when this week is going to go on, I'm sure that I will talk to the opposing coach probably a lot more than I normally do. We were talking about officials last night, and when we got off the phone, I told him I loved him, and I said I told my wife, I said, well, that's the first time I ever told the guy I'm going to play next week that I loved him on the phone.
That's hilarious.
And just crazy stuff like that, But when it comes down, at 7 p.m. next Saturday night, the competitive juices will be flowing, and there won't be any thoughts of take it easy here, take it easy there. He's going to try to beat me. I'm going to try to beat him. And then when the game is over with, if we win, we'll be very excited. If South Lake Carroll wins, I'm going to go give my son a big hug, tell him how proud I am of him.
How good is Ewers? He's obviously a blue chip. He committed to Ohio State, was committed to where you played at Texas, and who knows what happens. But how good is he?
He's very, very good. I had a chance to be around Quinn a little bit when he was an 8th grader. He came to one of my camps, and it doesn't take 2 minutes to figure out that's a special arm, even back then. And I've watched Riley's teams play last year in person a few times. He's got one of those generational type of arms and releases. It's really special. And so he's that, and plus they've got some really good wide receivers and good running back. So it's going to be one hell of a matchup.
Todd, are you having fun? You seem to be as happy in every way possible as I've maybe ever heard you.
Yeah, I'm very happy, and I appreciate that because I'm very. I just love the football team that I coach right now, the coaching staff that I have, the fact that my son's team is doing well. Riley, I'm just so proud of him because it's not easy, what he did to take on a job like that when he was 30 years old. And, they're like in the first 2 years he's been there, they're something like 37-3. In the first 2 years he's been there, they were able to beat Duncanville, who knocked them out. It really gave him the only 2 losses he's got on his record before this season. It was funny last night. My 5-year-old grandson, I was talking to him, and he's always like, "Papa, we can't beat Duncanville. We can't beat Duncanville. They're the greatest team ever. They could beat the Cowboys. Duncanville's so good." And then last night I got on the phone with him. He said, "Papa, we finally beat Duncanville." And then he goes, "And then we're going to beat you too."
God, don't you love the innocence of youth?
Oh man!
Oh.
And so he said, "Well," I said, "Well, the first shot has been fired," and he just laughed. But he said, "Papa, I'm getting my hair dyed blonde."
Oh my goodness!
He told his dad, he said, "If we make it to state, can I get my hair blonde too?" So he's going to get his hair blonde.
The thing that's interesting is that this is all kind of culminating in all of this. The way Riley, you said, took on. First of all, it's hard to go back to your alma mater, and it's also hard then because people expect even more, and then on top of it, because of the South Lake Carroll success and what you did, that was. I hate to use the term. It's very ballsy because that's something that could have been very difficult for some people to handle.
Yes, it really was. And when that job came open, they reached out to me. I was a very, very close to taking that job and bringing Riley with me as my offense coordinator about 3 years ago. When it all came down, I decided that where I am is where I want to be, and in my time at South Lake Carroll was very, very special, but it's time for me to stay at Westlake. And then when that decision was made, Riley came to me and said, "Dad, I know you've decided," and I thought to going back as my offense coordinator to say, he said, "What do you think about me throwing my hat in the ring?" And I said, "I think it's awesome." I said, "But I'll just tell you this. You go after it guns a-blazing. You don't go half-stepping into it like some of these young coaches do just to get an interview. You go after it. You go compete for it." And, boy, he did. And I'll never forget when he interviewed for the job. It was him and, 4 other guys who all had state championships. And one of the guys on the committee later told me, they go, "Yeah, we tried every way possible not to hire him because he was so young. But he did the very best job in the interview." And so yeah, it's a pretty ballsy move, and he's done great, and I'm very, very proud of him.
Well, like father, like son, a perfect week to be able to say that. Enjoy the week. Good luck. Ought to be a great game to close out what has been the most unique high school football season of all time, and what a better way to do it. Todd, thank you as well. Thanks for your time, and appreciate your friendship.
Thank you, David. Appreciate you, too.
Todd Dodge on SicEm365 Radio. I like Todd Dodge. He was quarterback at Port Arthur Jefferson back in the day. He and Brett Duhon, he went to Texas. Then he started his coaching career eventually, of course. And, he's had a great success at South Lake Carroll, at Austin, Westlake. He was at Marble Falls for a couple of years in between the time when he was at North Texas. And he sounds like he's as happy and comfortable. I mentioned that with him. And he said, "I think you're bringing that up." I wasn't sure if he was. He just sounds like he was as comfortable as he's ever been.
Well, it's really cool. They have a father-son battle in the state championship game. South Lake without Riley Dodge even available. I mean, to go and still win is pretty incredible. I mean, it really is. Like, who saw that coming? And, they went out and did it. So, just huge win for South Lake, and that'll – make for some good family fun, I would imagine, this week with the Dodge families just kind of going back and forth. And I'm sure the ladies or the other relatives like brothers and uncles and whoever else are kind of like side texting each other, like don't avoid Todd and Riley this week, but hey, what do y'all think about what's going on? So
he was cool. Also at Yo High School as a head coach for a couple of years too. So that's right here, smack dab in the middle of Central Texas.
I think you can say, especially a young coach like Riley, how he clearly has the organization in order, because sometimes at the high school, well, this happens at every level. If the coach is out, and we've seen it here, I said, look, the Browns last night, without half their coaching staff, really came away impressed with Kevin Stefanski not being there, because clearly he runs the ship well enough while he's there, so that if he is out sick like he was, that the whole thing doesn't fall apart. And you can say the same thing about Riley Dodge, and especially at the high school level, sometimes everything runs to the head coach. I mean, that's everything. And if he's gone, everybody can be, if he's not an effective enough leader, well, he's not here. We got to do it like we think he'd do it. But in a big moment in the state semifinals, Riley Dodge isn't there, and they're able to handle their business. So credit to him on how he runs the organization there at South Lake Carroll High School.
Won 5 state titles in his career.
I was going to pick them if not for the Riley Dodge not being on the sidelines.
Yeah, no, that's right. I thought that they had enough.
I hesitated on that because, your head coach isn't there, and I understand in the NFL or in college, you can, like Alabama can replace Nick Saban for a game and be fine. But this is the state semifinals. This is, a Duncanville team that's just loaded for bear. So it's amazing that we're getting Westlake and Carroll. If you look at the two quarterbacks, though, Kay Klubnik and Quinn Ewers, those are two of the top guys in the country, much less the state, and they're guiding those offenses, so that plays a big role. We're going to have a huge quarterback showdown with Westlake and Carroll as far as like the top guys in the coming years. But, also at the same time, you lose North Shore and Duncanville, who have been like mainstays in the state title games for the last
They were on a collision course for another one,
yeah. And here we're going to get this big rematch, and instead it's not only one upset, but it's 2 in the semifinals. So I'm looking forward to Westlake and Carroll. I think that'll be a good football game.
Interesting you should say that, because when we had Reggie Samples on last week of Duncanville, I had somebody actually direct message me, why wouldn't you wait till he's going to be in the state championship game?
I guess.
Didn't happen. Now, a couple of things on high school football. By the way, can you, Armstrong, pull up Nickelodeon, and it was a tweet. I don't remember what time it was. It was a tweet when the touchdown was scored. Did you happen to see any of that?
No, Armstrong is only going to watch games on Nickelodeon now.
Yeah. He was watching Nickelodeon and the game came on.
Yeah. SpongeBob, is that who it is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I didn't even realize the game was on Nickelodeon. Then I started seeing some chatter. And then, of course, it was just fantastic. We're going to get to that in a second. A couple of high school notes about this weekend. South Lake Carroll is in their 10th state championship game. They're 8-1. Westlake's in their 10th state championship game. They're 2-7. One year I did the game when they lost to John Tyler in '94.
Westlake is 2-7.
2-7. Yep.
They won 2 state championships.
Yep.
Wow.
And last year was the second one. Katy is in their 15th state title game. And all this started in the late 90s. They're 8-6. Alito's in the 11th. And they're 9-1. They're playing Cedar Park this week.
I wanted to mention, though, Katy didn't just win. They won 63-7.
Yeah, 7. Yeah, you're right.
63-7 in the state semifinals.
Hayes Consolidated was in over their head. I was kind of surprised they survived in that area. Cedar Hill, by the way, were against Katy. They're 2-1 all time in the state championship game. Joey McGuire, of course, has been a part of those. Carlos Lynn is their head coach. Fantastic guy. He was a part of Joey's staff at Cedar Hill. One of the note.
Why do I get the feeling that Joey is leering over me right now? Oh, wait.
He is.
Alito is the 7th team now to play in 5 consecutive state title games. Lamarck was in 6 in a row in the 90s. Waco High, old Waco High under Paul Tyson in the 20s. Fort Hancock, which no longer, I think, plays football, 88-92. Lake Travis, when they had that 5 straight wins, 2007 to 2011. And then Marathon from 1973 to 77. And now South Lake Carroll was also a part of 5 straight from 02 to 06. And a lot of that was under Todd Dodge. I think maybe Steve Lineweaver. I'm not sure exactly the connections there.
I'm pretty bored with Alito. I respect the heck out of the program, and they're there every single year. But whereas, you have Duncanville and North Shore on this collision course, and here comes Westlake and South Lake Carroll, or there's in any given year, Euless Trinity or Like, there's never anybody to topple Alito. Like, there's never anybody. And if there is, it's one team. It's one single team that could have a chance against them. But other than that, like, it's just the same thing. And, like, look, it's dominant, and it's something that you have to respect. I just am saying I'm bored with it, quite frankly.
I think that last year, Shadow Creek's the team that knocked him out, finally.
Yeah.
I think Shadow Creek might have been finally someone that got him.
Right. I mean, it's not every single season.
Well, they're 9-1. It was the first time they ever lost. Yeah.
9-1 in state title games. I mean, they're every single year.
Yeah, they're really, really, really good. All right, so this is – I did not know this, and I started seeing some of the chatter that the game was going to be on Nickelodeon. So I thought, okay, Nance and Romo, who was doing it remotely, I just thought maybe they were just going to have the broadcast like they do on the Thursday Night Football. Then I go and see the set, and they're actually in the stadium. This is New Orleans, right, Paul? Mm-hmm. And they got all the colors and a beautiful, bright, splashy colors like a bunch of paint being thrown against. Yeah. Here is when a touchdown was scored. Tell me if you watch this.
Plunging forward, end zone, and touchdown.
What on earth?
And that's the big time rush I was looking for. Kamara gets an end zone.
Yeah.
Bikini Bottom.
SpongeBob and Patrick love it.
Wow.
I don't even know who those people are right there.
You don't know? How do you not know? Okay.
Here's the slime. The slime comes out of each pylon. It's fantastic. Golly, that was great.
That's kind of fun.
And look at the
SpongeBob in the field goal.
God, can you imagine if they could actually see that? There would be some. Oh my God! Look at Let me tell you something. The NFL is marketing genius. Now, there's some things they've also marketed that backfired, but they are trying to get a younger crowd. Right? Mm-hmm. What a better way to do it.
Well, I hope that they
got me in.
I hope they continue to do it. I hope they do a game of the week on
now,
Nickelodeon.
my question is, if you were CBS and you're paying billions of dollars for this contract, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, that game, do they own Nickelodeon?
Yeah,
okay.
Viacom.
All right.
So
it's like the NCAA when they had games on TNT or whatever else in CBS.
But they owned that too. That was Time Warner, so that was all under the umbrella Court TV.
Okay. And think about what ESPN is doing. Like tonight, you'll be able to watch 6 different feeds of the national championship game. Amazon has several different broadcasts when they do a game. One was with Hannah Storm and I'm not Andrea Mitchell, Andrea Kramer. Andrea Kramer, that's a really good, they've done a good job in that broadcast. So,
I thought it was great.
I think the NFL's learning that there's a lot of different avenues to get people to watch games. And if you're a kid, like I honestly had my 11-year-old nephew most of the day yesterday, but he left before this game had started. I would have watched the game on Nickelodeon with him because he would have been like, oh, okay, this might be something I can get into.
I think it would be actually pretty brilliant to do that once a week, have like the Nickelodeon game. And if you're Nickelodeon, like, I mean, what are you losing? You're losing nothing because you're going to have all your same viewers back and you're getting the kids to watch the game. I think it's perfect cross-promotion for the NFL, and it's actually really brilliant if they were to do it, once a week or so. And it's all under the same, corporate umbrella, so they could do it feasibly. I mean, maybe, somebody has an issue with it because it's taken. I don't know. Maybe there might be some sort of discrepancy, but I mean, I think it's brilliant marketing.
Now, look, if you're a parent and you turned on Nickelodeon, there's football and not SpongeBob, and haven't figured out that SpongeBob is available on demand 24/7, but you could, I mean, what are you losing? Because you can still get those people back on demand.
How old is SpongeBob?
If anything, it's best of both worlds. But you got SpongeBob on while you're watching the game.
20 years. SpongeBob's been around forever.
SpongeBob is so long.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Craig, when you were younger, you liked the machine people, right? What was that called?
The Transformers.
The machine people.
Yeah, they were cool.
Machine people, more than meets the eye.
SpongeBob has been on since 1999.
Yeah.
265 episodes.
I totally miss the SpongeBob craze, but I have come across it. It's funny. It's got some adult humor to it at times, and it's a silly show, but one that's highly successful. So again, I think that was actually really well done, and I saw, I should say, a lot of praise for the commentary crew that was working that broadcast, that they were having a lot of fun and bringing a good energy and everything. So well done.
Yeah, my show growing up was Rescue Heroes.
Rescue
You
Heroes.
ever heard of that?
No, I have
Okay,
not.
okay.
Like, I just, back in the day, in the 60s.
Rescue Heroes.
Thundercats.
Yeah, I love Thundercats.
I remember that a little bit, but I remember the machine people.
No, I was more of a G.I. Joe guy. I liked the G.I. Joe cartoon series.
This is the difference in generations. Mine was the Jetsons and people like that.
I watched the Jetsons, though.
Flintstones. Yeah. Well, the other day during Christmas, I happened to see a channel that was playing. It wasn't the Christmas Story or whatever. The old guy that's part, Andy Griffin or whatever. Who's the guy that's a part of that? Who's the
Andy Christmas Story?
Andy
Is it McGavin? But
well, no.
Oh, you mean It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah, that one.
That's Jimmy Stewart.
But I saw the Grinch Stole Christmas popped up, and it was like recently. It wasn't the original.
It's like Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Which
it
was
wasn't
20 years old. He did that movie like 20 years ago.
But this was the Grinch Stole Christmas. I'm thinking, you know what? This is going to go back.
They recently did like a live television musical with it, and apparently it was terrible.
Okay.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah. All right, a Tom Brady note. He is still alive in the playoffs, although now New Orleans. And, the Saints struggle at times on offense. Tom Brady, 2 stats, has now beaten 17 different teams in the postseason. He has beaten more teams individually. 17, some of them multiple times. He's beaten more teams than any quarterback has total wins in playoff history.
Wow. Yeah, when you're doing it as long as he's done it consistently, he's in the playoffs every year, basically, of his entire career, and he's had a long career. And not only just in the playoffs, but like winning playoff games, getting to the next round. So, yeah, he's going to have marks that are going to be really hard to take down when all is said and done.
31 career playoff wins after beating the Washington Football Club.
Like maybe Patrick Mahomes sniffs that, but he'd have to do it again. What he's doing now for like 15 years. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
If he wins next week against New Orleans, he will double the number of wins of the next closest quarterback on the all-time list, who is Joe Montana.
Dang. That's impressive. By the way, speaking of older quarterbacks, do you think that we've seen the last of Ben Roethlisberger? Because I do.
Gosh, I hope so if I'm a Pittsburgh fan. That was atrocious, and they're just so out of whack. I thought, like, even with the loss, and I had my mom tip, I like the Ninja Turtles as well, guys. I needed to mention that as well. Yeah. G.I. Joe and Ninja Turtles are probably my top 2 kid cartoons. But, that was just hard to kind of watch. I'm not a Steelers fan in any way, shape, or form, but there's clearly some things really out of whack with that organization right now, and they do need to make some changes, and I think he's got to be one of them. I do. I think you got to start to get ready for life after Ben. And, Cleveland, they beat you 2 weeks in a row. So that's pretty hard to do in the NFL. It's hard to do in any sport, but they did it. They did it handily, and Big Ben and the Steelers were just, that was not.
I sat there in shock watching that.
Yeah.
7-0.
And
of course, the first snap of the game, when you have that to start with.
There was that. Not all the interceptions were necessarily his fault, but it was bad. It was bad.
Who was the team in the Super Bowl? Was it Seattle against somebody when they had a fumble? Denver. Manning, right?
Yeah.
Fumbled on the opening snap or whatever it was.
And for the Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger, this is not just a one-off of like he was really bad last night in the playoffs. He's been bad the last they've lost 5 of the last 6 games of the year and only beat Indianapolis by having a fantastic fourth quarter. So they played one good quarter of football in the last month and a half of the season. And any of you go back before, when they were 11-0, they played terrible against the Cowboys. They didn't play well against the Giants. And then, they beat them just by the fact that those 2 teams were not good. And then when Washington beat them, the bubble popped.
When he was sitting at the end of the bench by himself at the end of the game, he looked like a beaten down man who knew he may not play. He has a year left.
Yeah, but he's got a year left. The salary cap's going down. And I read today that he has the largest individual salary cap number of any quarterback in the league. And he's going to be 39 and
How
ineffective.
do you snap a ball over the head of a 6'5" quarterback?
Well, that's the other guy who might be retiring in Mike Pouncey.
Who's great, Hall of Famer.
So Mike Pouncey, he's had a really good career, but if those two guys could ride out together. So
all right,
Big Ben's been around a long time. The end comes for everybody, and I think the end is definitely coming for him. And we will see. Pittsburgh start to prepare for life after Roethlisberger. I don't know what that looks like, but. Yeah, we will see that pretty soon, I think.
We're going to have Tim May, who covers Ohio State, in the next segment. Okay, don't look. You guys don't look. Write down right now, you and Craig, I'll give you a sheet of paper. Write down who you think will be, not in order, who will be among the preseason top 10 teams next year. Based on the too early to like even discuss it because they haven't finished the year yet, but you know how this goes. I bet we match up 7 or 8. You guys do it too, Jack and Armstrong. I bet we match up 7 or 8 of those teams. We'll come back and do that as well, along with Tim May on Ohio State tonight against Alabama. And this is SicEm365 Radio. Petty Clinic, LowT.com, comprehensive men's health care, low-T therapy. You can schedule an appointment and contact Dr. Petty in his office. They're on Old Hewitt Road, just off of 84 in Woodway, by going to the website pettyclinic.lowt.com. Every day the phone rings with somebody else who's trying to contact Dr. Petty, who wants to get his testosterone levels checked and possibly get in the program to increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be. 1 out of every 3 men have symptoms about low testosterone, with low testosterone. What does that mean? As you get older, not everybody, 1 out of every 3 men, but eventually even more, as you get older, your testosterone levels within your body can change. They can drop. And if they drop, that means it also hurts your energy. You become lethargic. You don't sleep as well. You don't feel as well. You're not high performance. You also could lose your sex drive and your endurance, or all of the above. That doesn't mean it's you, but maybe you've had some of that happen and you're wondering what to do. Petty Clinic, LowT.com can help you out. Dr. Petty can get you discounted lab work. That's your blood work. Tell him Smokey sent you, and then check your levels. And if your testosterone levels are too low, he can put you in a program to help you become the high-performance man you want to be, that you need to be, at Petty Clinic, LowT.com.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Don Humidor 8-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, Bod Pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Born in Waco. Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Fields in the pocket, fires the end zone, into traffic, caught for a touchdown by Luke Farrell.
The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
Tim May, 42 years at the Columbus Dispatch. He's a Texan, used to be out of Lufkin, Texas, now part of Letterman's Row, covers Ohio State national championship game against Alabama. Tim, let's start with this. First of all, Happy New Year. What's it been like as far as the lead up? Has it been pretty calm? I know that there was concerns about who is available or not, but for the most part, it's been pretty calm leading up to the championship game?
Yeah, it's been pretty calm, but I mean, you want to know names and numbers, et cetera. Of there are going to be a couple of Ohio State players missing from this game, basically due to COVID-19 positive tests, and you kind of have a feel for probably who they're going to be. And one of them's going to probably be defensive tackle Tommy Togiai, who had a really big hand, and that's kind of a double entendre there, big hand, in helping Ohio State stop Clemson, a week and a half ago or so, and and maybe a couple other players missing. Justin Fields definitely is going to be on the field, it appears, even though he got that big hit. But yeah, that's the only thing that's frustrating, is getting straight answers out of a team that practices basically under a cloak this whole year. But other than that, I'm calling it the Haymaker Bowl, because these are two offenses, maybe the two best offenses potentially in each school's storied history, in my opinion, from a potency standpoint. And they're going to go at it against two defenses that definitely are not the best defenses they've ever had at the two schools. So it should be still fun.
Is there any chip on Ohio State's shoulder because they're tired of hearing about how, even though they hammered Clemson, is there still any kind of a motivation because of all they went through when people were saying they deserved it or not? I know they went through that back in 2014, then won it all.
No, if there was any motivation in that regard, this is my own opinion, it would have come last week when they played Clemson and everybody knew Dabo Swinney voted them number 11 in the country. And as I said, well, why'd you even vote for them at all, if you didn't think they belonged anywhere? But that's another story. But, no, that's, they're exactly where they wanted to be back in June and July. They're playing for the national championship, So if you got a chip on your shoulder, I don't know what it's about. At this point, it's about now winning the game. And two really talented teams going at each other.
How talented is, you mentioned the offense. I thought Justin Fields might have had his best game perhaps ever. I know at times it was hit and miss during the season, intermixed postponements, whatever else. How talented, how deep is Sermon? The transfer from Oklahoma's having an incredible run. How talented are they on offense?
Well, that was you just hit the linchpin. That was the one thing that was missing, was this confident or consistent running attack. They didn't really have that the first several games. And, Trey Sermon was still coming back from suffering that knee injury, middle of the year last year when he was at Oklahoma, had a little bit of time to get his confidence going, had this sort of a herky-jerky kind of approach to like preseason camp when we were getting ready for preseason camp, and it was canceled. And then they finally got the season going. And, like you just pointed out, Ohio State only played 5 games in the regular season, the irregular regular season, I guess is what you'd call it. And not until the very end of that did he and the offensive line kind of gain a rhythm. And, I wrote about that this week at LettermanRow.com, a little story. I also do podcasts for these guys. But it was really funny. It was an epiphany for Ryan Day somewhere late in the first half of that game against Northwestern. All of a sudden he realized, hey, he had a running back who was making plays. I mean, running through arm tackles at the line of scrimmage and, getting to the second level, et cetera. And they had not had that consistently. That's why he didn't necessarily in the first half go to it, because obviously Justin Fields, that's probably his worst game as a passer since he's been at Ohio State. But they didn't really go to it until the second half. Then they just lined up and blew the number 1 rush defense in the Big Ten, Northwestern, right off the ball and rushed for 399 yards. My point is, now they're a complete offense, because you saw last week against Clemson in a big-time game, over 600 yards total offense, 300-something passing, and 200-something rushing. And you saw Ohio State clicking on all cylinders with Chris Olave back. He was missing from that Northwestern game because of COVID. Garrett Wilson, a kid from right there, Lake Travis High School, right outside Austin, Texas, in your neck of the, well, not your neck of the woods, but your woods. And right on down the line, I mean, they just really, and the offensive line was rocking and rolling. So they really feel like they're a complete offense, and that's why I'm calling it the Haymaker Bowl, because both of these teams can strike you running the ball and throwing the ball. If Ohio State had an edge, it would be in the fact that the quarterback can run a little bit better, but is he going to want to run a little bit better after getting that big whack, last week that had all of what they call Buckeye Nation gasp at the exact same time.
Yeah, it was a kind of the word courageous, whatever word it is, that he kept playing through that and took that hit, kept playing, had an amazing game. So Ryan Day, Lincoln Riley and how he was seamlessly just kind of became the head coach and has had a great run at Oklahoma. Not quite the same, very close in what he's done. Is Ryan Day just as seamless as it could have possibly been with Urban Meyer stepping down?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, I think Lincoln Riley did this too. Ryan didn't just inherit this bus and just keep driving the bus without taking it in and getting it detailed in his own way.
Right.
I mean, he is definitely taken the passing game. Now, granted, he's been blessed with Justin Fields transferring in from Georgia, and basically is totally talented from a total talent standpoint, a quarterback as Ohio State has ever had, and he'd be that way at almost any other school he went to. But he was blessed with that. But he's taken the passing game to another level. I'm talking about Ryan Day has in terms of scheme, et cetera. And push comes to shove, he'd rather pass than run anyway. But he's built on Urban Meyer's power-based spread offense. I mean, you're in the Big Ten. You can't just rely on spreading they call it basketball on grass. You've got to have a power running game. But then when you add to it a spread passing game, which they've had, they had under Urban Meyer, but Ryan Day's taken that to another level in terms of complexity or whatever you want to call it, and it showed. And like I was saying to you a while ago, the interesting thing was they played against Clemson offensively like if this had been a regular season, like I thought they had a chance to play all year. I wrote about this and stuff and was talking about this. Like you said, I've been covering Ohio State since 1984, and this had the chance to be the best offense I'd ever seen because of the depth involved at receiver and at running back, if they could get a running back on the beam. Well, now they've got all that, and I think in Ohio State's thinking better late than never.
Tim, you got I'm not a big prediction guy, but obviously you mentioned both teams are high octane, weapons everywhere, putting up huge numbers. You have a pretty good gut feeling on this one? Well, the easy thing to say is, well, Alabama with Devontae Smith and that Heisman, the Heisman Trophy, and when Najee Harris, probably the best overall running back in the country, at least to this point this season, in my opinion. A guy that Ohio State also recruited but didn't get from California. But and then Mac Jones, maybe the most accurate. I go way back with Alabama football. I mean, I saw Joe Namath play back in the early 60s live, because I was born and raised there, and then we moved to Texas for 11 years before I moved to Ohio. But this is the best Alabama offense I've seen by far, from the standpoint of not just having the athletes there, but having the audacity to call bold plays, and just get these guys in space. So that's a hemming and hawing me of saying, I can understand where everybody's fired up about this Alabama offense and what it could do. But while Ohio State was scoring 49 points on Clemson, Ohio State was scoring 49 on Clemson last week. Alabama was scoring 31 against Notre Dame. So I'm going, okay. And then number two, I've watched how, first in the Ole Miss game, but that was a long time ago, but then recent evidence of the way Florida threw the ball on Alabama. This is, like I said earlier, it's not the great Alabama defense that you remember. I think Ohio State has a hell of a chance to go punch for punch, and I think Ohio State, in my opinion, is probably going to win this game, and it's going to be a high scoring 10-9, right? Yeah, it'll be a high scoring affair, and I'm looking something like 45 or 42 to 33 Ohio State, or 42 to 35, something like that. I don't ever like to predict classic scores, because these games they always seem to have oddball scores in them, like 39 to 26 or something. Yeah, no, they do. I could see the winner getting a late touchdown, to push it out to a double-digit margin or something like that. But hey, the over/under in this thing's like 75, so even Vegas expects a haymaker. Tim May, LettermanRow.com, long time with the Columbus Dispatch, covering Ohio State. This is Sic'em365 Radio. All right, so appreciate Tim. Started his career in Lufkin, Texas. Has been in Columbus for a long, long time. Now, a national championship game is, it's about 2 hours away. A little bit after 7 o'clock is the kick, Alabama and Ohio State. So, as always happens, as soon as a national championship of any kind ends, what happens? Well,
they rank teams. Yeah, for next year.
Let's not enjoy the night, but it's just kind of who we are. We want to go straight to, who's next, right? It's hard to almost, it seems like, enjoy something you win anymore, because it just seemed like, boom, it rolls the calendar so quickly. So Brett McMurphy put out his incredibly way too early top 25. All right, Jack, I'm going to try to keep track here. Slowly give me your top 10 of who you listed you think will be in the top 10.
Alabama.
All right.
Ohio State.
Yep.
Oklahoma.
Yep.
Clemson.
Yep.
Notre Dame. Florida.
Yep.
North Carolina.
Yep.
Cincinnati. Oregon. And Texas A&M.
Oregon and Texas A&M. Okay. Armstrong, you pass the baton to Armstrong. Armstrong.
I didn't write down a 10th team, but I had Bama.
All right.
Ohio State.
Yep.
Clemson.
Right.
A&M.
All right.
UNC.
Right.
Georgia.
Okay.
Oklahoma.
Yep.
Notre Dame.
Yep.
Florida. And then I don't know. I guess I'll throw in Utah.
All right.
I'll throw Utah in there.
All right, Craig.
Iowa State, Oklahoma. It's not in order, right?
Right, no.
Okay. Iowa State, Oklahoma, Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dame, A&M, and then I had like a tough time, but I'll just say North Carolina and Florida, like Florida, I guess I'll just say.
I'll put a half each. Yeah. Okay. Paul?
All right, Bama.
All right.
Ohio State.
Yep.
Clemson.
Yep.
OU.
Yep.
UGA.
Georgia.
Yeah. A&M.
Yep.
Notre Dame.
Yep.
Cincinnati.
Yep.
North Carolina.
Yep.
And I waffled on this one back and forth, but Miami got my vote over Florida because even though De'Aaron King hurt his knee, he's still coming back, and Florida's got – I mean, Emory Jones is an unknown. He looks good, but still.
All right, mine were Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Iowa State, Notre Dame, A&M, Oklahoma, Florida, North Carolina, and I believe I had Penn State. I know Penn State, okay? Even though they were a disaster. Everybody had Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, A&M, Oklahoma, and almost everybody North Carolina or Florida. You ready? Guess who's in the top 10 because they have to be?
Texas.
What in the hell?
Why?
No way. Is that real?
This is Brett McMurphy.
No way.
Ohio
That's
State.
a joke.
Ohio State.
That's an actual joke.
Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Clemson, Texas A&M, Iowa State, Texas at 8, North Carolina, and Penn State.
No way you have any reason to put Texas above
because
North
they
Carolina.
always peak in a bowl game and everyone loses, and Sarkisian and Bijan Robinson.
Oh my gosh. I'm unfollowing this guy right now. What is his problem?
Because it's almost
Did
like
it
an
about
annual.
2 years ago, brother.
It's when they beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Hell, I think they were 3.
I think some people thought that this is their national championship. They might have been number 1. And
he literally says his first sentence, Texas is back. That's what he says.
But is the quarterback the kid who played in the bowl game when Sam Ehlinger got hurt? Or is it someone else?
Casey Thompson.
Is it Casey Thompson or is it someone else? Or is it Hudson Card? You don't know. I mean, like, maybe it's Casey Thompson, maybe it's Hudson Card, but they have to battle that out.
He actually said their leading receiver, Joshua Moore, will be back, who's a very talented young player. It's a great story as well, because I think he had to overcome something as well. But this is what they do. This is the hype train.
He did put 3 Big 12 teams in there.
Yeah, he did. No, and that would be fun for a change, huh?
Yeah.
Might give him a chance to be pretty good.
The only reason I didn't put Iowa State in there, because I just figure somebody's going to just rank them 11th at the start of the season or 12th.
Well, and it's a given. It's like every preseason poll, even after last year, Texas is going to be in the top 25. I did that on purpose because I saw that, and I was like, they're 7-3. Their losses were all close games. Bijan Robinson by himself is a tremendous player. If they ever give him the damn football, which Sarkisian you think would because of what they've done at Alabama. But it's just so, is that not just the way it is?
Oh, yeah.
And now it'll be interesting to watch how the other ones come out. Brett McMurphy's okay. He doesn't give credit to us on 9 of the 10 times we've broken a story this year.
We're sources has learned is what we are.
Bruce Feldman does. Max Olson does. Jeff Goodman does.
Really, there's no reason not to, but he's one of the few that doesn't for some reason.
But if the local people don't do it either, that's fine. Although the local TV stations do, that's fine. And that's not what it was about. But Texas at 8.
That's what Craig's code name is with Brad McMurphy is Sources.
Yeah.
We're going to start calling Craig's Sources Smoke.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me, the Texas thing. It just doesn't. I'm so used to this preseason love that they get. And my only thing with Tom Herman getting fired was I just had to roll my eyes. But then again, it was going to be damned if you do, damned if you don't, because either we were going to get a full off season of Texas is back, they won their bowl game, now they've got their new quarterback, and this will really be the year, or we are going to get Tom Herman gets fired, and now all the fun of the new stuff, and now they've really got the guy in place, and they've got, this and that coming back. And I mean, I get it. They should be good next year, but Iowa State should be really good next year. They've got as much coming back as anybody. Oklahoma's got some retooling to do, but they still have Rattler and Riley, and that defense should still be pretty good. But, yeah, I mean, it's the same song, different dance, and I don't know what the payoff is like if you predict it enough times, eventually you're right, so you get, like, love on Twitter for being right ultimately after 10 years of being wrong, or if, like, there's some big lottery ticket you cash if you just put them in there every year until they finally are proving you right. I don't know, but, like, it's so not surprising.
When we come back, Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator, in what has become a rock star segment. Some of you have gone on the message board. Some of you have sent me text messages, direct messages about how you want this segment to continue into the offseason. So here's what we need you to do. Text 254-339-1122, your thoughts about the Phil Bennett segment. And some of you, I've shared a little bit of it with him. And I don't know how long this is going to last. I do know the Nitsche Group is on board to continue it through the month of January and then beyond. But we'll see if Coach Bennett is. Not going to put him on the spot, but you can with text messages. This is SicEm365 Radio.
COVID-19 it's our, most of our world right now. And how do you navigate it? How do you deal with it? What about testing? What about testing for my office so that I can make sure my employees are safe or if we might have worry of an outbreak? What do we do? I want you to remember this website, impacthealthlabs.com. So whether it's your office, whether it's a church, whether it's a school, a dormitory, whatever it is, they can do mass COVID testing and they come to you and it's done within 24 hours. So you're not sitting around waiting. I know my mother had to get a COVID test for a procedure, and they never even called her back and told her that she did or didn't have COVID. She just went in and assumed that she didn't, and she didn't. But she sat there and waited and wondered if she was carrying COVID. And that's not what you want to do. You want to know now, and they do it. It's the PCR test. It's the most accurate test. They will have their techs come to your office and test everybody in the office. They accept most major forms of insurance, so the cost for you is considerably lower. Again, Impact Health Labs at impacthealthlabs.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas. We're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitsche Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitsche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitsche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitsche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
You want
Want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Jones got it to Devontae Smith. Open field. One man to beat. You can forget about it. Devontae Smith, touchdown, Alabama.
This segment with former Baylor defensive coordinator Phil Bennett is sponsored by the Nitschke Group Insurance Company, where clients are more than just a policy number. See why thousands of Texans trust the Nitschke Group with their home, auto, benefits, and commercial insurance coverage. Call their Waco office to speak with an expert at 254-420-3900 or visit them online at tngins.com. Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour. Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator, longtime college football coach, joins us on Mondays at 5 o'clock. Nitschke Group. Again, thank you for your support of this segment, and a lot of you have said you want this to continue. Phil Bennett joins us. All right, the football season, which some did not want to have happen, some didn't think should be played. Phil, what does it mean that we're playing for a championship after all tonight?
Well, I think every coach, every player, every administrator should be congratulated. It was such a undertaking and highs and lows and reorganize and reschedule. I'm just proud of everybody involved. I think that, we all of us know that what the pandemic did to our country, and we pushed through it, and I just think it's something to really celebrate.
All right, Coach, do you get into the Ohio State played 5 less games? I mean, the ship has sailed now on the argument, but do you think it's going to be a factor in how well they can play tonight?
No, I don't. I think that I thought from the get-go that they were an elite team, whether they played 5 or 10. The way they played against Clemson and their vertical passing game and those things, I felt all along they were obviously, to me, one of the top 4 teams.
What do you see from Mac Jones? He gets the headlines in a way, Phil, but Devontae Smith obviously won the Heisman. He's also got a pretty good running back and pretty good everything around him, but particularly him, he kind of gets the rap maybe at times of, well, he's got 5 stars all around him, and he does, but what do you see from him individually?
Well, I think, his accuracy is unbelievable. And I think Devontae and Waddle and all their receivers all year have taught, or even before the season, let's go back to preseason, and they had that 5-star quarterback. I think he was from California, and everybody said, "Hey, he's going to beat Mac Jones out." You guys remember that?
Yeah.
And when it was being said, I'll never forget it. I remember these receivers, and Najee Harris. I said, "No, I don't know about that." And I just think that these guys have a great amount of confidence in this kid. I have a personal friend that has been training him since he was 14 years old. I worked with him. His name's Joe Dickinson. And Joe goes and does individual training. And I remember this last year. Joe told me, he said, I'm doing a kid in Florida that's going to Alabama. He said, I really think he's going to be something special. And he made the remark, he said, some of the people at Alabama have thought he was a game manager like Coker was, and like like McElroy was. And he said, he's not. He said, this guy is the real deal. And I think that's been pretty obvious.
You know, obviously both teams are incredibly explosive. The wide receivers for both teams, there's a Texas flair as well, because they're both going to come into this great state to recruit as well. Is this going to be a game that everyone thinks is a high-scoring game that could end up being an old-fashioned 24-20, or do you think this is going to be 45-40?
Well, you know, my intuition thinks it's probably going to be a high-scoring game. I mean, both teams have been so adept at vertical passing game. And I mean, I don't think either defense is great in the secondary. And I think that when you get the receivers that will be on the field tonight, I mean, there's a great chance that ball is going to be thrown and caught downfield. Then you throw in Najee Harris, and you throw in the kid from Oklahoma that transferred there, and you've got offensive explosion. Now, could that change? Absolutely. I mean, things happen, but I would think Sarkisian, you know, with this being his last game at Alabama, you know, he's a mature guy. He's been through a lot. I will think he will want to finish this thing with a bang. And on the other side, Kevin Wilson and Ryan Day are two guys that have had an up-tempo offense. I talked to one of the coaches there, and they told me they're not going to huddle. They said that Alabama better get ready. And Nick has sort of struggled with tempo offenses. He said, we're going fast and furious. We want to get as many plays as we can get.
Quite often, you know, when the legendary coach that brought you up leaves, there's a drop-off, or, I mean, and not that the Ohio State's talent has, but there's kind of a shadow. Maybe this is just me, Phil, but I don't really feel like Ryan Day is in the shadow of Urban Meyer anymore. I think he's very much carved out his own niche.
I don't think there's any doubt. And you know, the way that thing transpired, I credit Urban for that, too. You know, Urban didn't stick around. He got out of there. He went to Fox, and there was a shadow because he didn't. You know, with the Smith kid and what was going on, I thought Urban really did him a favor by saying, "Hey, it's yours. Take it and go with it." And I think Ryan, you know, Ryan's been around some good people. Coach Kelly, he's got a really good, mature staff, and I think he's done an awesome job with it.
So, Coach, back when the playoff had its first unveiling, that very first year, we all know the story. Baylor gets left out. I mean, you guys were literally on the door. I mean, the first at the door. Ohio State gets in, and they go on to win it. I'm curious from your perspective, how do you think you guys would have fared if you would have gotten into that fourth spot rather than Ohio State? There was Alabama as the 1 seed who y'all would have played, but then Oregon with Mariota, Florida State with Jameis Winston, and I know there were tons of other players as well, but how do you think you guys could have fared against those three teams?
Oh, I think we could have beat any of the three, you know. And now, with that said, naturally I'm going to say that, but I think we matched up with anybody in the country. You know, we had a team that could. We were offensively. We were so powerful and vertical and running game. And defensively, even though we played a lot of snaps, we were good enough to get the ball back and get takeaways. And I think Ohio State proved that. You know, they had a year they played, you know, we played Michigan State and ended up, and people ask me, did the disappointment affect us? I think without a question it did. But as I've always said, that's the most disappointing loss I ever had at Baylor, because we dominated that game and we made some decisions that weren't good that cost us the game. But, yes, and I remember that year. My point is Michigan State led Ohio State the whole game and lost at the very end on a long field goal. So, yeah, I think we matched up with any of those teams.
Phil, Baylor has finished their coaching staff. They had thought it was finished with the story involving Kyle Pugh that next day he was gone. And now they found Eric Mateos, who was a part of the staff at Brigham Young, under Jeff Grimes as the offensive coordinator. Your thoughts about how they finished it out?
Yeah, number one, I'm sad about the situation. You and I talked a little bit about it. We are so caught up on finding the negative of people. And I know the situation. I know the Pew coach. I'm sick about that. And I thought it was so unnecessary. And I thought it was a situation that we're sort of what our country is right now. We're looking for the negatives. I mean, what happened to him was when he's 18, 19 years old. My God, I just hope nobody goes back when I was that age and look, because we all do things. And I'm sad about that. I still think Jeff is an outstanding coach. I don't know the line coach that he hired. But I also know that I've heard really good things about him. And, he just came just like Jeff did from an 11-1 team.
Do you feel like with what happened to Kyle Pugh that was because of what Baylor has been through the last 5 years, and had it not been that way, they would have stuck with him?
I'm not sure I'm just going to pin it on Baylor. I think our society, I mean, we look, if you dig deep enough, Smokey, that you'll find something that is questionable. And the thing about maturing and getting better or second chances, I know this. Kyle Pugh is a fine. Baylor would be lucky to have him. I would tell Mac Rhodes, I would tell the woman president, all of them that. And it's a shame that Baylor took it upon themselves to. This kid can't even get a job back at Troy now. I mean, his career is in a free fall over something that happened when he was 18, 19 years old. That any other day and time would be trivial, and I'm just sick about it for him personally because I know him, and I'm a little bit skeptical of why, how it came up, and why it was that big a deal.
Because it's 2021. I mean, you've nailed it, Phil. I mean, it just you have to erase the past somehow. It's impossible.
Don't we want people to stand up and be not only trustworthy but godly about their decisions? I mean, there are no, the only perfect person we crucified.
Yeah.
And I look at this and I just don't like the smell of it.
Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator, with us on Mondays on SicEm365 Radio.
What do you think about the possibility of Urban Meyer in the NFL? I know he's had some talks with the Jaguars. Do you feel like he'll translate well to that level?
Yeah. Urban Meyer he's like Nick Saban. He gets it. He knows what he wants. He knows how to get it. He hires good coaches. He's won everywhere he's been. And I think it would be a great challenge for him. He's done almost everything he could do in college. And Urban's not afraid to test waters he hadn't been in. And I just like the mentality of what he's always done. And whether it's been at Utah, whether it's been at Bowling Green, whether it's been at Florida, it's been on and on and on. And he is in command of what he wants to do, just like all the great head coaches are.
Phil, did you I know that when you came across Xavier Howard that you felt like he was a pretty good player and you would like to have had him on your team, and you guys got him, and we rehashed that story of how that came to be so fortunate for you guys. But did you have any idea you were coaching a future All-Pro, first-team Pro Bowler, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, how amazing is what Xavier Howard's carved out in the NFL? How amazing has that been to see?
Well, it's first of all, kudos to Xavier. He has worked so hard and got himself right. A lot of people don't realize, last year he finished the season on the IR and came back from major knee surgery to have 10 interceptions this year. And it just absolutely could not have happened to a better kid. And in answer to your question, Paul, yeah, we thought he was special. We thought he was special, not just his ability, but just his makeup. He had that makeup. I remember, and you guys remember this, I believe it was 14. We went to West Virginia, and Kevin White, Xavier got like 3 crucial third down penalties, and they were very questionable third down penalties. And White was obviously too a first round pick, and we ended up losing the game. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. That Monday, players have the day off. We always watch tape on Sunday. That Monday, and X wasn't the guy that did a lot of talking. He comes in, he shuts my door, and I had never got on him about the game, about the interferences, because I thought it was just, it was very questionable. And he just played hard, and the ball was sort of just sort of thrown up type passes. And he looked at me, and he had these crocodile tears in his eyes. He said, "Coach B, that'll never happen again. Never." And I'm telling you that I just it sort of froze me. And for a kid, I said, "Well, X," I said, it happens sometimes. He said, "I've never been so embarrassed in my whole life." And I think there was 3 plays, and I might have told you this story before, Smoak, but I thought, wow, this kid and the way he practiced the rest of 14, it was like his hair was on fire. That it never, and I remember this vividly because Tyler Lockett comes on, and we're playing in that game, and people fail to realize in 14, if they win that game, they win the conference. X won the play of the game. You had 2 All-Pros, a guy who caught 100 balls, and X sat there battling out, and we never knew what kind of guys we were playing against or what X was. And look at it now, 4, 5, 6 years later, you got 2 first-team All-Pro players.
How difficult is it? You're a coach, you have young men. Some of them come from backgrounds that none of us would ever understand. Some of them are from schools where their fathers were coaches or have both parents, and they come from very, very good upbringing. Phil, is that one of the hardest things to know who you can trust and believe in when a player says something to you about, "I'll never do that again," or not so much with what he was talking about? Isn't that hard?
Well, let me say this, and we all know this. Anything that anybody that you trust, you have a relationship with. I mean, there's been conversation, there's been good times, there's been bad times, and that's the key to coaching. I always thought I could coach hard because I told these kids, "Listen, you're mine. I love you. I'm going to correct you when you're bad. I'm going to party when it's good, but I'll always be there. And if you need me at 3 o'clock, I'll be there." And there were cases when I was at Baylor, I got calls. I was up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And every one of them will tell you those stories. I would show up. But I think that just knowing the kids and if they trust you and you trust them, the ability to communicate. Everybody, I don't like the word culture, but I guess you could say that if you have a good culture, it's probably because you trust each other. It's just like a marriage. It's just like friendship. I mean, we all have these friendships that, hey, if they call us at 4, we're answering, we'll do anything for them. And I think that each kid, we always talk about Orion. And I said, I loved him, he hated me. That's not true. Let me tell you something. Orion and I were good because we were both competitors. I knew I was going to get the best out of him, and he knew I was going to coach him to the best of my ability. So, and there was always, we always knew deep down, and even to this day, we laughed at Chance's funeral. He told me, I said, I miss talking to you. He said, "Coach, I miss you too." And I meant it, and he meant it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Coach, would I be correct? You were at K-State for Darren Sproles' first year, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I was. So let me tell you this. This is a great story. We weren't going to take Darren Sproles. And Mike Smith and a guy, we called him Bucky. He was Matt Miller. Matt Miller got on they came into me, they said, "Coach, we got a running back in Olathe. He's the best." We look at him. He said, "Coach thinks he's too small." And I said, Bucky, I said, you guys have got to get on the table. They were our two youngest coaches. And I said, you got to get on the table. I said, if he's that good, get on the table. And I'm telling you, they did. And we took him, and the rest is history. We go play USC. We open the season. Carson Palmer is a quarterback. And we go out there, and they're loaded. Pete Carroll's there. And I had him on the scout team. And I go in to Coach Snyder, not the coach. We're not playing our best running back. We can't tackle Darren. He goes, I don't want to hear that. He said, we got an all Big 12 running back, Josh, Scobie.
Yeah.
And I said, Coach, look at me. I said, he is not as good as Josh Scobie. He's better than Josh Scobie. And Josh was a great player. I said, this dude is a flyer. He started laughing. I was just do your job. So I go in and told the offensive coordinator, I said, hey, you better watch this tape. And listen, I had 9 guys that went to the NFL. We couldn't tackle him. And I don't mean just short plays. I mean break it to the house. Terrence Newman couldn't catch him. And so we go to USC, and they move him up the week before we go. The score is 10-6, and we had just got a sack. We sacked Carson Palmer, fumbled, and we get the ball back. And we had a new quarterback. And we're trying to run the clock out. And Tuiasopo, the old safety for the Steelers, is in. And it's 3rd and 6. And you can look this up. We ran a belly flip, and they called a great defense. And here he comes. And it's Darren Sproles and the safety. He breaks his legs with a fake, goes 60 yards to the 4-yard line, sets down, game over. Wow. That was his only carry of the game.
Do you know that he was named? Do you know he was named to the College Football Hall of Fame? Is that why you brought it up, Craig?
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
By the way, Carson Palmer was too today on the list. They're in the College Football Hall of Fame coming up.
You're kidding me?
No.
I'm gonna tell you, he's an awesome kid, guy, and an unbelievable player. That is. But we knew from the get go he was and it goes back to recruiting. I mean, it's not this kid was hardly recruited. It was crazy. And those two guys did an unbelievable job, evaluating.
Yeah, that's why I asked you, Coach. Him, Bob Stoops, Carson Palmer, Clemson running back C.J. Spiller, Tony Romo are going to be part of that class. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, on Darren Sproles, I had a conversation at Cowboys training camp. I guess it's probably 2 years ago now with Sean Lee, and we had a long interview. And then afterwards, I said, I forgot to ask you this, but I noticed it on that. They did a documentary about where he was kind of coaching up the defense on how to attack Darren Sproles tackling. I said, I'm sorry to ask you anything, but I'm just curious. He's like, you have no idea. He goes, he said, hours over the summer and all these things just watching tape of Darren Sproles because he was killing the Cowboys.
Yep.
And Sean Lee had to learn how to tackle him to where at least it was just at the point of attack and not 18 yards downfield.
Listen, I thought from the day he stepped on campus at K-State, I mean, we had guys, we had 9 or 10 guys that played years in NFL, and he was breaking it to the house on it. and of course, Coach doesn't like to be wrong. Coaches, and I would go in there, and he would look at me, and he always thought I was crazy because I was about the only coach he ever had that would actually talk to him and say what he thinks. And he would look at me like, oh, shit, here's Phil again. And then I think Coach looked at the tape, and he goes, we're going to bring Darren down this week. And it was game week. And I said, I think that's probably a good idea. I said, we might get some confidence this week.
You had to recruit. You had to do that to that win. You had that knack of, even though the size did not fit. Taylor Young, I remember that story. You found those guys.
You can't put measurement on great players. You just can't. I mean, I listened to a guy. I don't even know him, but do you remember the receiver for the Panthers? That Smith kid.
Steve Smith, yeah.
Yeah, Steve Smith.
And he made a statement. He said, I have had restrictions on me athletically my whole life. And he said, when I get people that believe in me, he said, they know that I will go to the max, above and beyond any other thing. And let me tell you something. I've had great success personally and just watching guys that had those type of abilities. I mean, and I always tell you, I told you that story, Smoak, with the coach, the great coach with the Cowboys in New York, you know, telling me about that. I don't like little linebackers. Well, he even said, he goes, you were so right. He said, I could tell you were ready to fight me over it. And I said, this guy is the real deal. He said, any team I've ever coached, he said, he is the real deal. You're right. And that's what Darren was.
Phil, I'm going to read you a text. This is from Paula. Please keep the Phil Bennett segment beyond January. I think it'll be awesome to get his analysis on spring ball. Maybe we give him a summer vacation, May through July, bring him back August through April. You guys are awesome. I'm telling you, I shared with you text messages of what people think of this segment. Now, I did say I wasn't going to put you on the spot, but
you did. That was a lie.
Yeah, I'm just telling you.
You know, when y'all want to talk, it's fun. And let me say this. I think you guys do a great job for the athletic department at Baylor. I've always thought that. I've been an admirer of yours. And in the fact that I get to express myself on some things, and I love football, you know, my whole life. You know my history, Smoak, with my brothers. They're all coaches. I have great appreciation for college and high school athletics, and feel fortunate that I was able to make a living and be around so many great people. And I enjoy talking about it. And I do. Even though I left Baylor at a bad time, I admire everything about Baylor. So, and I appreciate that.
Well, we'll be in touch, okay? Let's put it that way.
All right.
We'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
All right, last thing. Who you picking tonight? Let's put our name on it.
I'll put Alabama 37-34.
Alabama 42-35.
I don't have a score, but I'm going to go with Alabama, I think.
Okay. All right.
What about you?
You know what? I've just got a sneaky with Ohio. I'm gonna tell you that last game impressed me. You know, they played a better team. They played a better team than what Alabama played, and I just think I think that maybe Alabama might be better, but Ohio State, if they're on their vertical passing game, could beat them.
Yeah. Isn't it weird that if in fact that happens, that Nick Saban would probably feel some heat?
Hey, we create monsters. We create monsters. I mean, trust me when I say this. Anybody, and that's one of the things that is wrong about that would say anything negative. I mean, would be number 6. I mean, this guy has done such a remarkable job. His coaching staff. Think about how many coaches he's had to readjust. Mm-hmm. Think about what's fixing to happen. He's going to lose 3 or 4 coaches after this game. Crazy.
Every year it happens. Basically, every single year.
You know, I think about, I grew up, my dad was an Aggie, and so I was watching A&M. And RC, you know this because you're on those staffs, he had some great coaches that all left at once. It took him a couple years to adjust.
Absolutely.
It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Listen, after my second year, I had a couple coaches get better jobs, and I made one good hire, and I missed on 2 of them. I mean, yes, it stopped. You're exactly right.
Cowboys just apparently have fired Dan Quinn as their defensive coordinator. You ever run into him?
Yeah, I know Dan. Good guy. Good guy. You know, and as I like to say with this, help him get some of those players that can make plays.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, coaches take too much credit and too much blame.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate you so much, man.
Guys.
Thank you. That's Phil Bennett. That segment brought to you by the Nitchie Group. I think there's some negotiation going on. I think he was playing hard to get.
I'm with him though on Ohio State. Like, I mean, if you would ask me, not like put me on the spot and like said, "Hey, in an hour we're gonna pick this," I might have picked Ohio State. But like, just 5 seconds to think about it. I mean, I'll go with the favorite in Alabama, but I'm totally with him on what he's saying about Ohio State. I'm very curious how Justin Fields plays because he's kind of the it factor for me tonight. We've seen him play bad, like Indiana game, for example, and basically play bad enough to, if not for the fact they're so great, make up for that. But they can't do that against – if he comes out and he's throwing picks early on like he was against Indiana, for example, then Alabama will trounce them. But if he's on his game like he was the last time we saw him against Clemson – then this could be pretty special, as far as the matchup goes.
We'll hear from David Barron, longtime media columnist and also a high school football historian. He announced today on Twitter after 42 years at the Chronicle that he is going to go into part-time writing. He is one of the legends. He's humble as you could possibly be. This guy has an incredible mind. He's going to join us next. A couple of notes, though. Paul Tyson, former Waco High back in the 20s at Dynasty. I mentioned them earlier. They were a part of, 5 consecutive state title games. Now joins the list with Bob McQueen, former Lorena coach John Crawford, who also spent time at Plano East and also Tatum, and Gary Prophet, who was at Goldthwaite. Those are Coach Art Briles when he was at Stephenville, the top 100 high school football coaches of all time in the UIL list of top 100. There's rivalries, there's teams and all that series, and also coaches. Today they released, I think, the last of the 10, list of 10. It included Paul Tyson of Waco High. Dan Quinn, official, as we mentioned, a defensive coordinator now of the Dallas Cowboys. This is Sic'em. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, a hidden gem in Waco. And you can find out tons of stuff on their Facebook page, Instagram. You go to their website and see all the list of craft beers they have. So much cool stuff. Look, if you're trying to get a gift for, say, the wine lover in your life. Look, I've already gotten the gift for my mom. Her birthday is tomorrow. But, if you want to get a gift for my mom, she's a wine drinker. You can go there and get her a nice bottle of wine at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Do you want a recommendation? You're not. They have their staff there knows pretty much everything about everything. And I've gotten confused and asked, and they said, well, this or that, and then I've got new choices to make because they've given me more. That's the great thing about Riverbend Liquor and Wine is the customer service, the drive-through window, clean, safe, socially distanced, in-store location. Whatever you need, they can help you find it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitsche Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitsche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitsche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitsche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's a new year. Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Hi, this is David Smoak, including what you'll need to watch the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl. Ribs, sausage, links, brisket, chicken wings, bags of various snacks, and customized appetizer trays. Don't forget to order something now for the perfect home-cooked Valentine's Day dinner, which is closer than you think, including combo packs with ribeyes, fillets, and lobster tails. Live crawfish season is just around the corner. Absolutely the right time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Waco Custom Marketplace, your family meat market, butcher shop and bakery with everything baked fresh with old-fashioned farmers market atmosphere. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122. For your company's mass COVID testing, log on to impacthealthlabs.com.
Earlier today, I saw this pop up on my timeline. David Barron has been a legend in the writing business, in the covering the media and sports media. He started out in Tyler, Texas. I've known David for a long, long time. He's on pretty much every committee that matters as far as when it comes to Texas high school football, but many things as well. He accepted a buyout from the Houston Chronicle, 46 years in the business, 31 in Houston, and David Barron joins us now on SicEm365 Radio with Craig and David Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Barron, the gentleman, the humble legend that he is. David, I guess this is something that, how long did you have to think about this to get to this point, this decision today?
It took a few weeks. A lot of things. And first, thank you for the kind words. It's very generous of you. A difficult decision. It probably took me about 2 or 3 weeks to decide whether or not to accept the offer. A lot of things go into it. I'm 67. I've been doing this for a long time. I think I'm to the point where I think I'd be happy doing 50 or 60 stories a year rather than 250 stories a year. So I think the time has come to scale back and hopefully continue to write about things that capture my attention as they capture my attention, rather than being sort of at the whims of whatever may happen on any given day.
David, how did your career develop into being, watching the media and all that from what it was early on?
Well, I'll write about this at some point. I had to leave the office for a while in the winter of 1996-97 for the death of the family. And when I got back, I said, "So who's going to do the TV column?" And they said, "You are." So it wasn't something I planned on or planned on doing or aspired to do, but it was sort of handed to me, and I've done the best I could with it for 24 years now.
So you went back and you took a look at like the evolution of Houston sports media and your memories of that. Just what was that like to sit down and kind of pour out just thoughts of, things you've seen during your career, things that maybe you hadn't thought about in a long time?
I've always got pretty good records in terms of who has been with this station or that station. I've actually got a fairly long list of every talk show combination I could think of since the mid 1990s, and as I mentioned, the television marketplace was fairly stable here for a long time, but then it's been considerably more fluid over the last 10 years or so. So it's really just a matter of going through the files and keeping good records of remembering this is when that happened, and Google search and Merlin searches for the Chronicle database to refresh my memory when I needed it to be refreshed.
When was the first time you ever saw Earl Campbell carry a football?
Carry a football. It would have had to have been sometime in 1971 because he did play some running back in 1971. The first time I saw him play was in his first varsity game against Longview. When he wasn't even on the program. He had just been brought up from the B team and had, I think, 9 sacks in the game against Longview that John Tyler won on a swinging gate play. And so Earl was like in the 8th or 9th paragraph of that story that was in the Tyler Morning Telegraph the next day. I'm sure I saw him carry the ball sometime as a sophomore. Then obviously he rushed for about 800 yards as a junior, and I saw a lot of those games. That was my second year at Tyler Junior College, and then I got to see him play at his senior year. His senior year at John Tyler was my junior year at the University of Texas, so I would drive back and watch John Tyler play on occasion that year.
David Barron, who announced today that he's going to take, I guess, partial retirement, no longer 31 years in Houston, 46 years in the business of covering media, covering sports, covering athletics from every level you can imagine, with us on SicEm365 Radio.
What do you think it'll feel like to just do a story? I know you'll have some things, but like kind of just when you feel like it.
I don't know. I've got a few things lined up that I'm going to do some research work on. I think that's going to get me started when I'm no longer have any daily duties to attend to. I'm behind on a couple of things that I've done over the years for Texas football, so I'm going to try to catch up on those elements and then sort of just take a look at all the stuff I've got here and try to catalog it and decide what needs to be kept and what needs to be thrown away, what needs to be donated somewhere. So there's a lot of busy work to do. I'm not sure if it's going to be productive work, but it's going to be things that I've been putting off doing for a long time. And then I'm sure there will be things that will be coming up. It's an Olympic year. I hope to be able to write some about our Olympic athletes on a freelance basis for some outlets. So that's something I'm looking forward to.
What sport or team did you prefer or did you enjoy covering the most, if there was one?
I'm not sure if there was one in particular. I covered so much football early in my career, and then in 2000 I started covering the Olympics, and I've probably covered more Olympic gymnastics than I've covered football over the last 20 years. That would probably be the favorite sport among the 24 or so Olympic sports that I've covered. Baseball is the hardest sport to cover, without question. Football has never been that difficult for me. I guess when you sort of get started, so it relatively young in your career, it becomes sort of second nature. But baseball is just so complex that covering baseball I've done a lot of baseball the last 3 years, and that's probably the most challenging thing on a day-to-day basis. Baseball writers are the toughest people in our business. They have the hardest job, and they have it's a daily grind, and I admire them so much for what they're able to do under just such interest and such pressure, and it's such a complex sport to cover.
And there's not been any really baseball Houston related stories to talk about the last 3 years.
Yeah, my goodness.
Golly.
Yeah.
And, the other thing that I've fallen into over the last 6 years, I got started in the business as a reporter and covered some couple of fairly big trials in East Texas that David would remember from his time there. And but since about 2013, I've spent a lot of time in court. There was a big regional sports network bankruptcy that took up a lot of time, and now there are probably 6 or 7 Astros lawsuits out there, and a lot of other sports litigation as well. So I spent a lot of money on court records for the last 4 or 5 years.
David, as a matter of fact, I followed along almost, I want to say dramatically, but all the time with what was going on with, Root Sports and how you were kind of covering all that with how people in Houston could actually watch the Astros. And it was nearly impossible for a couple years.
I think they had maybe about 40% penetration, and there were a couple of games that you recall that before when they were still under the Comcast name, where they actually nobody who had a Nielsen meter watched 15 minutes of an Astros game at a particular quarter hour, so they had a 0.0 rating, which is almost impossible to have. But that was the case. I'm sure people were watching. It was just people who had Nielsen meters weren't watching them, and that indicated that the trouble that they had with distribution, and if you don't have distribution, you don't get advertising, and then everything falls apart, which is what happened.
Have you been blown away by the response to your announcement today, by how many reached out to you, not only on Twitter, but also your text messages, phone calls, whatever else?
Very much so. People have been very kind. They've been kinder than I deserve, and I'm very grateful to all the kind words that I've received from colleagues who were aware that this was coming, and the people that learned about it today. I'm humbled by it, and I'm gratified by it, and I hope that I've been able to be a benefit for those who've read me over the years.
My God, you're the best, man. Thank you, David. Appreciate you. You've earned it.
Congratulations.
No question about it. I love the emotion. You are amazing. I remember following you when you started in the Tyler market, and obviously Craig and I spent a lot of time there as well. So thanks for your time. God bless you. Good luck with what you do. And I'm sure you'll be on a committee with something that has to do with high school football or something still down the road. So enjoy it and embrace it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Hope to talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
David Barron, Houston Chronicle, started out in the market in Tyler. He has been, there's a guy right there that when he, now today, although he'll still do some work, you can't find the negative word about him. You can't. And that's why I'm glad we were able to get him on. When I saw that, reached out to him, glad we did.
You know, he's one of, when I had to cover the Sam Mukawachu trial, I would just go back and read his tweets about legal stuff. He and Tommy Witherspoon from the Trib, just so I knew what to tell people, because I didn't know. I mean, I was just there listening to things. You know, and when you're covering a legal trial, it's kind of a big responsibility to not really give conjecture on something, because, you know, you could be like, well, I think this. Well, you're not on the jury. You know, you're just there reporting the facts. So the way that he would do that was really remarkable.
ESPN at ESPN CFB Armstrong. I know we're almost out of time. We have another break to get to.
No, we're gonna do the top five and wrap.
Okay, can you put this up real quick at ESPN CFB, and it's about college. It's a video, and it starts out, and it's stunning to me that of all the places.
About the fans, are you talking about?
No, it starts off with a picture of the stadium.
It's about the fans.
Okay, yeah. You're saying thanks to the fans. Okay. All right, here's the video. If we can get that up, let me know when we get. Of every stadium in America, there were probably 15 or 16 you couldn't have started with. Now, I know Ohio State's playing for the national championship, and Kirk Herbstreit has said they will be out with some big bangers tonight. Of course, he can't say anything about it yet. But, okay, here we go. This is the video.
You started out there with fire down in your bones. We didn't know if we were going to get here, but we are here. Then comes a song. We got spirit, God knows you hear it. There's no give up, give up, give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
So they're playing for the national championship. They started out with a video of the horseshoe that we played through the season, and yet that's one of the schools that couldn't start.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, there were two videos of Sam Ehlinger and Texas fans. ESPN's never going to lose that opportunity. Oh my God!
They got to promote their product,
and they had A&M as well too.
I mean, if I spent hundreds of millions of dollars on a TV network that barely anybody cares about, I would try to juice it for all it's worth as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right,
gotta get some play out of it.
Yeah, you could also put on the Watch Paint Dry channel.
Okay, tomorrow it appears as if we might end up with former Virginia Tech legendary Hall of Fame coach Frank Beamer on Jeff Grimes, trying to work that out for us. We'll let you know, plus Mac Rhodes and others as well. Paul?
All right, we might start calling this the top five at 5:55, because it's when we do it every day, but which I like doing. It's a great way to wrap up the show.
Well, it makes sense. 5, 5, 5, 5.
Yeah. Right? Maybe we can get Arby's to sponsor it. The 5 for $5 deal back in the day.
It's a $5 foot long. What is that?
There's lots of things.
Top 5.
Yeah. So anyway, there's lots of things we can do. All right. Top 5 things to watch for tonight. Number 1, Ohio State's practice time. They've had some COVID issues, one of which I'll get to in just a second, which is a major loss for them tonight. How much time have they been able to practice compared to Alabama, and does that hurt them? Did they have to do things on Zoom? Did they have to do things in a ballroom? Did they not get the same amount of time? I think that's a key tonight in the game, which I think will be very close regardless of that, but I do think that could certainly be a factor. Number 2, Saban's staff departures. A couple years ago, I think this hurt him when they lost. I don't think this happens with Steve Sarkisian tonight. I think he has a lot to prove going out the door and trying to resuscitate a job, guys, that is not been resuscitated the last 3 coaches.
Right.
So they certainly did. He needs to hit the road recruiting and be able to say, like, look what I just did. And number 3, can Ohio State score with Bama? I think we all agree, yes, they can.
Oh, yeah.
Going
question.
Back to Sarkisian, I think no matter what happens tonight, he'll still be able to throw on that burnt orange, and that will matter to some. But, no, you don't want to limp out of the gates as the new head coach in Texas or at Texas with a no-show tonight. So yeah, you certainly gotta put something out.
Yeah,
there.
if you're going to overestimate a bowl win for the team,
right,
you're going to overestimate a bowl loss as well. So he knows what he's stepping into. I'm not saying it's right either way, but that's the situation that he's stepping into. All right, number 4, Najee Harris versus Trey Sermon. I think the running back that has the bigger game is the team that wins. To me, because that means that team will be able to control the game, the flow of the game a little bit more.
Yeah, 2 really good running backs. Trey Sermon's been incredible, but he was incredible at Oklahoma. I guess maybe not as many people realized it, but no, I mean, I'm with you on whoever ends up with the most yards out of those 2 probably is on the winning team.
Yeah.
I would think Trey Sermon will end up with more yards, but I don't know if that means they win the game. But you're right. The stretch he's been on is insane.
All right, and number 5, this is a national championship. It usually comes down to a big special teams play, and you can go back through a ton of these. Look, I think Ohio State might have been the only team ever to return a kick for a touchdown to open the game and make a big special teams play, and then that be it when they got walloped by Florida that year. But that was just kind of a fluke, and that was Ted Ginn Jr., so that's what he did. But some special teams news for Ohio State. Their kicker, Blake Hubble, is out.
Yeah, and that's one. I don't even know if that's one that Herb Street was referring to as well. Yeah, Devontae Smith won the Heisman Trophy mainly because of 98% of what he did as a receiver, but as a special teams return person, he did enough to also then attach himself to the award like Tim Brown, Johnny Rodgers, and also Desmond Howard as well. All right, Armstrong, thank you, sir. SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
SpongeBob Armstrong.
So do you know where SpongeBob lives?
No.
He lives in a pineapple under the sea.
Yeah.
He lives in a who?
He lives in a pineapple under the sea.
Yes.
Is that why he's called
absorbent
Sponge?
and yellow and porous is he?
Thanks to
Thank you.
Thanks to former Lakeview Centennial offensive line coach and Jeff Grimes' first ever offensive line coach, Jack Catlett. Thanks to Tony Sakalis covers Alabama, Todd Dodge, Tim May covers Ohio State, Phil Bennett, David Barron, also Nick Saban and Ryan Day, comments from them as well. No Baylor game tomorrow against West Virginia. We were hoping to be able to talk about that, but they will not play until Saturday at Texas Tech. Oh, no, home. Is that home? That home against? No, I guess I don't know where that game is. Where's that game at? The Baylor Texas Tech game. It's in Lubbock. Okay, it's in Lubbock. All right. Thanks to Jack and Armstrong, SpongeBob. Thanks to Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. I'm David Smoak. Thank you for listening and watching whenever you do, however long it might be. And good night. Tomorrow they're back at it at 11 o'clock with the up-tempo. This is SicEm365 Radio. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.